you could take your seats, please. I'd like to call to order the California Transportation Commission 2014 Northern STIP hearings. And if we could call the roll. Here she comes. Present. Okay, this morning we're going to start off with an overview by Laurel, and then I think most of you have received a time to speak, I hope. So Laurel, you want to kick it off?
Yes, thank you. Commissioners, today is the first of the two hearings on the 2014 State Transportation Improvement Program. The STIP is a 5-year program of capital improvements adopted biennially in even-numbered years. State law requires the Commission to hold at least 2 hearings, one in the north and one in the south, before adopting each new STIP. The purpose of the hearings, as specified in statute, is to reconcile any objections by any county or regional agency to the Caltrans program or Caltrans objections to any regional program. The hearings also provide an opportunity for each regional agency and Caltrans to explain its proposals and why the Commission should include them in the STIP. Each commissioner should have a copy of the hearing briefing book prepared by staff. This is not a staff recommendation of any kind. It is simply staff's compilation of the RTIPs and the ITIP presented in a single format. We know that a compilation of this magnitude, prepared in a relatively short time, is bound to include some errors or misinterpretations. This work remains subject to updating and correction before we prepare the staff recommendations, and we invite anyone concerned to bring us changes and or corrections. Under law, the Commission may include a project in the STIP only if it has been nominated by a regional agency in its RTIP or by Caltrans in its ITIP. The STIP is constrained by the levels of funding identified in the fund estimate adopted by the Commission, $1.262 billion. The 2014 STIP fund estimate was adopted by the Commission in August of last year, with a correction in October. The fund estimate starts with the revenue assumptions and the assumption that nearly $4 billion in projects from the last STIP will be carried forward to arrive at the capacity to add new projects to the STIP. At the front of the hearing book is the summary that compares the RTIPs and the ITIP proposals against the program capacity levels identified in that fund estimate. We don't break down the capacity by fund type any longer since T has been eliminated and PTA is basically no longer exists also. However, we do still break down the projects by rail and transit, bicycle, pedestrian, and highway road. The programming challenge in this STIP is the elimination of the federal T program and the need to delete reserves and projects that are not eligible for SHA or federal non-T. Most bicycle and pedestrian projects do remain eligible. If we are not sure, we are requesting copies of the PSRs to do further evaluation. There's a few that may not be fully eligible. Some elements may need to be funded by other funds. Again, as I said, the fund estimate identified $1.262 billion. Against this capacity, we have received requests totaling $1.34 billion. The fund estimate shows that the STIP is already over-programmed by about $83 million in the first 3 years, with new capacity in the last 2 years. Requests so far, however, total about $194.5 million for the first 3 years. The result is that the first 3 years would be $277 million over-programmed. The RTIPs for 35 counties and the ITIP are at or below the target. The remaining RTIPs are about $181 million over target. There are 3 significant programming challenges. Obviously, the total proposed exceeds our capacity. The amount proposed in the first 3 years is very large and would entail having to move a lot of things out. And then confirmation of eligibility of any remaining or newly proposed bicycle pedestrian projects. After the STIP hearings, staff will begin preparing a comprehensive recommendation for adoption of the 2014 STIP. The STIP adoption is scheduled for March 20th. As required by law, we will publish staff recommendations no later than February 28th, which is 20 days in advance of the adoption. Staff recommendations will be based on the proposals in the RTIPs and the ITIP, the capacity identified by the fund estimate, the policies in the STIP guidelines, and any further information or guidance that we may receive during and following these hearings. We will continue working with Caltrans and the regions to address any questions or unresolved issues as we develop our staff recommendations, and to make sure we understand regional and interregional priorities and that no one is surprised by what we recommend by the 28th. After this introduction, we'll move into the interregional and regional presentations. Caltrans will make a presentation of its ITIP, and each regional agency will have the opportunity to make a presentation regarding its RTIP and to comment on the ITIP. Before Caltrans and each of the regions testify, staff will give a brief overview of the issues specific to that proposal. Members of the public wishing to comment should fill out a speaker's card and can comment at the end of the hearing. Are there any questions?
Any questions of Laurel? Thank you.
Okay.
Rachel?
Well, let me start by giving a brief overview of the ITIP. Caltrans is proposing to program over $301 million, just under the target. They are proposing to leave a little bit unprogrammed in order to cover anticipated cost increases for projects coming in for vote in June. For highway projects, Caltrans is proposing 2 delays. They are proposing to add funds to 2 existing projects, the 101 HOV lanes in Santa Barbara and the Olancha-Cartago project. This is shared between Inyo, Kern, and Mono. 11 new highway projects are proposed, and 2 existing Route 99 projects are proposed to be split with substantial program for construction added. The ITIP also includes a list of highway projects that are second priority for this STIP, but are first priority for the 2016. That includes projects in Merced, Tulare, and Madeira. In addition, Caltrans is proposing to delay 1, delete 1, and program several new rail projects for a total of $46.7 million in new programming. It also includes a list of rail projects that are second priority for the 2014 STIP, but would be first for the 2016. And these are 4 double-track projects in San Diego County. With the elimination of the T program, Caltrans is proposing to delete or close all T projects not being delivered this year. This includes a couple of projects where the department was partnering with local agencies. We have confirmed with those local agencies that the projects remain programmed and are fully funded and will be able to be delivered. There have been several regional requests for ITIP funding that are not reflected in the proposed ITIP. Several letters have been received. You've got copies of those letters. In addition, there are some requests included in the RTIPs for ITIP funding. And as we get to those RTIPs, we'll bring those up. We'll mention those. So, Rachel?
So today the presentation for the ITIP will be by Kurt Scherzinger, the office chief that is in charge of the ITIP in my division.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Kurt Scherzinger, and I'm here on behalf of the Department to present the 2014 Interregional Transportation Improvement Program proposal, otherwise known as the ITIP. Before moving on, I'd like to take a moment to make a couple of observations. Yesterday, during the Active Transportation Program Guidelines hearing, I thought I heard it stated that the $135 million a year program isn't that large of a funding pot in the general scheme of things. In contrast, the ITIP is funded at about $150 million per year, almost the same as the ATP. Yet the job of the ITIP is to improve statewide interregional mobility for freight, services, and to develop an intercity rail system. That's a tall order under a similar size funding pot. Additionally, I expect you'll hear later today from some that are seeking ITIP funding assistance for projects of regional priority. I'll just say that we're all in the same boat, sharing the same shrinking pot of funds, trying to implement a shared vision of transportation and mobility, and it's really just frustrating. How do I do this? Oh. Okay, I'm going to launch in now. I have a short PowerPoint, which I'll go over the STIP. So, can I borrow your handout, Rachel? Mine seems to be missing this page. Crud. So, as luck would have it, I'm missing my notes on this page. I think the point here I want to make was that the STIP is divided into 2 broad programs. One is the regional program, which is 75% of the funding, and then there's the interregional program, which is 25% of the funding. Projects in the regional program are divided amongst counties by a specific formula under a county minimum proposal. Each county is expects to get a certain percentage of these regional dollars. For this cycle, the regional program is almost $1 billion divided amongst all 56 counties. Typical projects I've noted on the PowerPoint: carpool lanes, hot lanes, interchanges, ramp metering, the sort of things that are expected to reduce congestion for the most part. Other kind of work is obviously eligible, but it's the predominant sort of projects that are funded under that program. The ITIP. I can read. The other broad program, the ITIP, is funded from the remaining 25% of new STIP funding. The interregional program is designed to place emphasis on projects that improve interregional mobility of people, vehicles, and goods, both on the intercity rail system and the state highway systems. Under STIP guidelines, the types of projects encouraged to be funded with interregional funds are mobility-enhancing projects, both road and rail, that primarily address sustained interregional connectivity. I'll just add that the slice of the ITIP this cycle was $300 million, and I'll just make the point, because I said $150 million a moment ago. 150 is the annual figure. The STIP is a 2-year program, so double it. It's about this time happened to be about $309 million. So we have 2 years of new funding. That's where we get to that figure. How projects are selected? This question has been asked many times. State statutes defines the purpose of the ITIP to be the improvement of interregional movement of people, vehicles, and goods on state highways and intercity rail. Further, the Commission, in its STIP guidelines, direct the Department to base the ITIP on the foundation of a strategic plan. The Interregional Transportation Strategic Plan, or ITSP, is that plan. For the ITIP, the ITSP planning process is the equivalent to the Regional Transportation Plan, or the RTPs. The ITSP lays out a set of performance objectives and defines statewide priorities for investment to be carried out with ITIP funds. Working collaboratively with regional agencies, the Department then identifies discrete projects for further development consistent with the ITSP by preparing a project initiation document, otherwise known as a PID. By Commission STIP guidelines, all candidate projects for STIP funding must have an approved PID that clearly defines the project's scope and estimated cost. To the level of new funding per the fund estimate, the Department then draws projects into the ITIP proposal from the collection of completed PIDs. To say we plan the work and we work the plan. STIP guidelines lays out program objectives which are summarized here on this slide. It is within this framework that projects are identified to further these objectives. In addition to these objectives, the Department and Commission are also bound by certain statutory formulas that place certain constraints on ITIP programming. So the ITIP proposal. I'll start by saying the ITIP is consistent with the 2014 STIP fund estimate. The fund estimate provides a target of $309 million to the ITIP, though the new funds are mainly in the 2017-18 and 2018-19 fiscal years. In many instances, the Department is partnering with other agencies on the funding of projects where both share the same mobility objectives. In the ITIP, the Department proposes to program $47 million to the intercity rail program for projects that enhance capacity for several rail corridors, well, actually 3, and to projects that complement the state's planned integrated high-speed rail system. The ITIP also adds funding to several projects on critical rural freight corridors and the National Primary Freight Network as defined under Map 21. These routes are used to sustain California's $45 billion agricultural industry and to move billions of other goods between the state's urbanized areas and to destinations outside California. Finally, passage of Map 21 eliminated the T program and effectively removed that funding from the STIP. In light of the loss of the funding, the Department recommends deleting all ITIP-T projects programmed within the 2014 STIP period and returning those shares to the ITIP. However, while the funds were lost to the ITIP, they're not gone. They've been moved to the new active transportation program, so projects can still seek funding under that program. So what I'll do here is profile a couple typical projects that we would fund under the ITIP. The San Joaquin Corridor and San Luis Obispo 46 Corridor. Okay, we'll start with the San Joaquin Corridor. The Department administers funding and contracts on three intercity rail corridors. The corridor noted here, the San Joaquin, currently carries 6 passenger rail trains per day. The goal is to increase capacity to 8 trains per day. Analysis has shown that the 5 spot improvements are needed before rail capacity can be upgraded. The Stockton to Escalon double track project seeking funding in the 2014 STIP is one of those projects. Upon completion of all 5 projects and the delivery of the new passenger rail equipment and an operating agreement between Amtrak and the state, Caltrans can then request BNSF to allow operation of 2 additional daily round-trip trains on the San Joaquin Corridor. Some ridership facts. Last year, the San Joaquin line carried almost 1.2 million riders. That's a 5.5% increase over the prior year and a 55% increase over the past 10 years. While the additional 2 trains, with the additional 2 trains, the corridor will be positioned to continue with the upward ridership trend. Oh, what's going on? Help. Gino. Thank you. So I'll talk about the Route 46 corridor. California's geography, particularly its mountain ranges, inhibit easy east-west travel. Route 46 and 58, noted on the slide, are effectively an extension of Interstate 40 crossing routes 99 and ending at Route 101. Eastward, Interstate 40 extends from California across the nation to the Atlantic coast and South Carolina. Both the Route 99 and 101 corridors sustain a rich and prosperous agricultural region connecting with a number of disadvantaged communities. Improvements to this corridor are consistent with the ITSP objectives of completion of a trunk system of higher standard routes, connecting gateways and high-growth areas to the trunk system, and ensuring reliable mobility for the improvement of goods and services. In past STIP cycles, the Commission programmed 2 very large funded projects on Route 58. Those actions fully funded projects to better sustain mobility on this important freight network. The first of 2 projects is scheduled for construction allocation this June. The focus of this ITIP, the Route 46 corridor, is detailed on the next slide. Good. The Department's ITSP, the plan for the ITIP, highlights the Route 46 corridor as a development priority. Alternative east-west routes of comparable nature are Route 152, 100 miles to the north, or Route 126, 110 miles to the south. With no good east-west mobility options, Route 46 in this area carries significant truck traffic between 101 and I-5. Upon completion, Route 101 and Interstate 5 will be linked by a modern 4-lane expressway that increases safety and mobility. That's a vast improvement over the existing 60-mile-long stretch of 2-lane conventional highway with few passing opportunities. The section in purple is being proposed for funding in this STIP cycle. There are 2 construction projects within the section. One project is funded through construction, the second through design and right-of-way. Here's a photo taken while driving on Route 46. It illustrates the condition of the existing facility. It's a busy 2-lane road with connecting side streets and driveways. You can see the busyness of the route times and the potential for safety. Looking ahead, the greater issue, funding to the STIP, is inadequate to meet identified mobility needs. The ITIP, with 1/4 of that funding, is unable to carry out the ITSP objectives in a timely manner. In a letter, Caltrans, in March 2013, the Commission suggested that the ITSP be updated in conjunction with the Long-Range 2040 Caltrans Transportation Plan. Caltrans agreed with this approach and will work to refine the ITSP in consultation with the Commission, partner agency stakeholders, and others. The updated ITSP is expected to address new challenges and opportunities and will present a different approach for the development of the 2016 ITIP. Caltrans looks forward to working in conjunction with our partners to implement a shared vision of intermodal transportation improvements that will improve mobility across California. So for more information, a copy of the full text of the ITIP is available online at the internet address noted above. Thank you for the opportunity to go over the ITIP proposal. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Kirk. Are there any questions of Kirk? All right, thank you. Seeing none,
Okay, Commissioners, next on the agenda is the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. MTC covers 9 Bay Area counties. Alameda, if you're looking in your book, that's on pages 3 and 4. Contra Costa, pages 10 and 11. Marin, pages 33 and 34. Napa, pages 45 and 46. San Francisco, pages 62 and 63. Santa Clara, page 71 and 72. Solano on 79, and Sonoma on pages 80 and 81. As a whole, MTC is proposing to a program above target by $7.9 million. Of this, Contra Costa is proposing $10 million over target, while other county proposals are equal to or less than target. Any programming above target means that some other agency must program below. MTC, Bay Area Congestion Management Agencies, and Sonoma County Transportation Authority have sent letters regarding ITIP funding for projects in the Bay Area, and you have copies of those letters. MTC is proposing to program $87.1 million in 2014-15. This means that other counties must delay or delete, as there is no capacity in the early years of the STIP. In 5 of the 9 counties, MTC has proposed to delete T reserves that are programmed in 13-14. That's contrary to STIP guidelines. They have several new bicycle pedestrian projects, and we're working with them to confirm eligibility. Most of them will be eligible, I'm pretty sure. Napa County is requesting state-only funds for a project that already falls within the parameters of the Department's state-only policy, so just probably won't be an issue. So, MTC.
Thank you, Laurel. Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to comment on the Bay Area's 2014 RTIP. I'm Kenneth Cow with MTC. Alex sends her regrets that she cannot make it today. First, I would like to thank Caltrans for their presentation on the proposed 2014 ITIP. MTC will address our actions related to the 2014 ITIP later in this presentation. To begin, I would like to highlight the region's delivery record in the past 2 years since the adoption of the 2012 RTIP. The region has worked closely with our partners, including the congestion management agencies, Caltrans, and the Commission to successfully deliver a number of important projects in the STIP. These projects include the Caldecott Tunnel Project, which had STIP funds in pre-construction, the Dwell Drive Presidio Parkway Project in San Francisco, various segments of the State Route 4 widening project in Contra Costa County, the Jameson Canyon Widening Project in Napa and Solano counties, and numerous segments of the US 101 Marin-Sonoma Narrows projects. These projects would not be possible without RTIP funding. The 2014 STIP fund estimate provided the Bay Area with about $131 million in new programming capacity. The region's proposed program totals about $139 million, which is about $8 million over our target. The bulk of the overprogramming is attributed to Contra Costa County's proposed programming of $10 million for the I-680 southbound HOV gap closure project. CCTA will discuss this project in a few minutes. Also of note is that a few Bay Area counties, including Napa and San Mateo, are proposing a program less than their county targets in order to reserve funds for future projects. MTC's 2014 RTIP includes a mix of highway, transit, bicycle, and pedestrian projects to further improve on the Bay Area's transportation network. In order to meet the region's goals for greenhouse gas emission reduction as mandated by SB 375 and our region's recently adopted Sustainable Community Strategy known as Plan Bay Area, the 2014 RTIP includes nearly $20 million in bicycle and pedestrian improvements to use previously programmed transportation enhancement reserves. This commitment is above and beyond what MTC plans to program as a part of the Active Transportation Program later this year. At this time, I would like to invite our partners representing 3 congestion management agencies to discuss the highlights of their project proposals. First is Ross Chittenden from the Contra Costa Transportation Authority, and he will be discussing CCTA's proposal, including plans to advance projects by consolidating funds on the I-680 SR4 interchange project. Due to the regional nature of this project advancement, the 684 interchange project is the region's top priority for funding in the 2014 RTIP. Also important is the proposed programming of $10 million for the 680 southbound HOV lane extension, which is a part of MTC's regional express lane network. Ross?
Good morning, Commissioners, Chair Gometti, Chair-elect Gardino, Executive Director Boutros. My name is Ross Chittenden with the Contra Costa Transportation Authority. As you know, we're one of 20 self-help counties in the state, and we're happy to be here to partner with you at STIP funding to implement our measure program. As mentioned by Laurel and Kenny here, we're proposing a total of $36.2 million in new funding, which represents about $10 million over the county share target. And I would like to highlight some of the things already mentioned by Kenny and a few other comments on the projects in our proposal. First, I would like to discuss the 684 interchange Phase 3 project. State Route 4 in this area is a bottleneck as it reduces through that interchange from 4 lanes to, or actually 8 lanes, 4 lanes in each direction, to 2 lanes, and in the other direction it's bottlenecks from 6 to 2 lanes. So it's clearly a significant constraint. That constraint has produced recurrent congestion over the last 3 decades, and that congestion now is increasing as we open up the CMIA-funded State Route 4 widening out in Antioch and Pittsburgh. I would like to note that the first 2 segments of that project opened to traffic in December. We're planning an event, and hopefully some of you will be able to attend that with us. The State Route 4 or the 684 interchange project is environmentally cleared. We have a design consultant on board, and we can deliver it on the schedule that's listed in your book. The second project I'd like to highlight is the I-80 San Pablo Dam Road interchange. And like a lot of projects, this project is really not named properly. While we are improving the interchange in that location, about 2/3 of the investment on that corridor for mainline I-80 improvements. We're adding a couple of auxiliary lanes in that area. We're closing and relocating a few ramps, so this will significantly improve the operations of 80 in that location. Phase 1, which is fully funded and shown in the STIP, is going to construction next year. The proposal here is that we make ready Phase 2, which includes most of the I-80 improvements, so that we could have an opportunity to fund that if we're successful in extending our sales tax, something that we're starting discussions on and may happen as early as, or may go to the voters as early as 2016. So this is really trying to get that significant project ready for future STIP and for a potential future measure. And the last project I would like to highlight is the 680 carpool lane through Walnut Creek. Carpool lanes are open to traffic north of Walnut Creek and south of Walnut Creek, and there's about a 4-mile gap in the southbound direction through the 680-24 interchange. As Kenny mentioned, this is included in the express lane network under the authority granted by this commission to MTC in fall of 2012. Our plans now are to partner with MTC, open this as an express lane, and convert the existing carpool lanes to express lane, opening as early as 2017. If we're able to do that, we'd have continuous express lanes from the Benicia Bridge to the Alameda County line stretch of, if I remember correctly, about 27 miles. So a significant advancement in the express lane network in the Bay Area. So while we are asking for a little bit of over-programming, I just wanted to commit to you that these are investments that are on the 3 highest congested areas of the state highway system in Contra Costa, and we look forward to working with you and your staff to try to see if we can reach this level. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Ross? Seeing none, thank you. Next speaker.
Thank you, Ross. Next, I would like to introduce John Fungi from the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency. San Francisco proposes to program $13 million in 2014 RTIP funds to the Central Subway project in the first year of the STIP, fiscal 14-15. And this is in order to coincide with the final contract award on this $1 billion project. This project is also in MTC's Regional Transit Expansion Program as adopted in MTC Resolution 3434. John?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm John Fungi, the Program Director for the Central Subway Project in San Francisco. I'm here today to request an advancement of the $12 million in STIP funds to finance the final construction contract, the final piece that will construct the Central Subway Project. This final contract will construct an onboard advanced train control system, wayside equipment, and software that will eventually be used by over 65,000 daily riders. We plan to issue the notice to proceed for this contract early next fiscal year. Central Subway is currently in construction with over 7,000 lineal feet of tunnel constructed to date. This 1.7-mile extension of the Muni Metro T-line will provide a direct connection to San Francisco's most densely populated and economically vibrant areas. There will be subway stations in the Chinatown, constructed in the Chinatown, Union Square, and south of Market neighborhoods. Central Subway will greatly benefit San Francisco by improving transit in underserved areas, improving the regional transit network, basically areas in the north-south direction that are just currently served by buses. And these buses are traveling at the slowest speeds in the city of San Francisco, less than 5 miles an hour. You can almost walk as fast. It connects to Caltrain, Muni Metro, BART, and the future high-speed rail line with a projected ridership of 35,000 average weekly boardings with a total daily ridership of 65,000 daily riders over the entire T3rd line. At opening day, the Central Subway T3rd line will be the most highly used line in San Francisco, surpassing the NJUDA. Central Subway will also create tens of thousands of jobs, catalyze new development in the neighborhoods currently along the corridor. We appreciate CTC's past support for the program, and I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions, John? I have one off subject. What are you guys doing to synchronize signals in San Francisco?
Synchronize traffic signals?
Traffic signals, yeah.
Our surface operations will have single priority. So we currently operate this feature on our surface LRV lines. So the current 5.4-mile T line that's operating now.
I'm not talking about the light rail. I'm talking about traffic signals. You don't know. Would you find out for me? Because I'd like to see some of the signals in San Francisco synchronized so they work well.
Okay, I'll get back to you.
Make a note of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken, the next speaker.
Sure. Thank you, John. And actually, I do understand that San Francisco did get some TLSP monies, which probably is going to
well, I
go
know
towards
LA got
TLSP.
a whole bunch of money to synchronize their signals, and I was waiting for San Francisco to get their share.
Right. Well, I'm sure San Francisco would love to also get $100 million in TLSP funds to synchronize their signals. Okay. Back to the STIP. Finally, I would like to introduce Marcella Renzi of the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority. VTA proposes to program about $15 million to the pre-construction of the final BART extension from Berryessa to San Jose/Santa Clara. Marcella will also give an update on the construction status of the other BART extension contracts currently under construction. This BART extension is also in MTC's Regional Transit Expansion Program. Marcella.
I'd like to thank the Commission for its current and past support for VTA's BART extension to San Jose and Santa Clara. This project is one of the cornerstones of the region's sustainable communities strategy. It is the high-capacity, high-frequency transit connection between San Francisco, the East Bay, and Santa Clara County that is absolutely required to support the increased housing and employment that's planned to be funneled into southern Alameda County and Santa Clara County in the future. The Commission has very steadfastly supported this project for years, and I'm happy to say that we are delivering it. The first phase from Warm Springs to Berryessa is very actively under construction in several locations. The cars have been ordered. BART is working on revamping their maintenance facility to take care of the increased service. All of our funding commitments are in place. Again, thank you very much. We are requesting about $14.7 million, rounds to 15, for the next phase, which will be the final 6 miles from the Berryessa station in North San Jose to San Jose and Santa Clara, going through the Diridon station. VTA hopes to begin the environmental scoping meetings this summer. And again, we thank you for your continued support.
Any questions? Marcel, I have one question. The $14.6 million, is that for environmental work? Tell me what are you using that for? It's not for construction, right?
No, it's for PA and ED. We do have CEQA clearance on the last 6 miles, but we didn't do a federal document, and we are seeking New Starts funds.
Is this going to be above ground or underground?
Both, actually, different portions of it. And we are actively engaged in some additional value engineering as part of this.
Thank you. Any other questions? Ken, anything else?
Yeah, I'll just close. I'll make a few comments to close. Thank you, county representatives. To close, I would like to discuss MTC's actions on the related 2014 ITIP, as promised at the beginning of our comments. As part of our adoption of the 2014 RTIP, MTC adopted a set of principles in order to prioritize the region's ITIP candidates. These principles were developed in cooperation with our CMA partners and Caltrans District 4. MTC also adopted a set of projects for consideration in the 2014 ITIP. These projects were the Freeway Performance Initiative project on I-580 from San Joaquin County to Foothill and Alameda County, pre-construction of the SR-152 reconstruction and toll facilities project in Santa Clara County, interchange improvements at I-80, 680, 12 in Solano County, and HOV lanes on US 101 in South Petaluma in Sonoma County. This list was financially constrained to about $60 million, or about 20% of the available funds in the 2014 ITIP. This mirrors the population percentage the Bay Area represents of the state population. Thank you again for your consideration of our ITIP. The Bay Area is united in our commitment to the projects in our proposed programs, and the region is glad to answer any questions you may have specific to our request. Thank you.
Commissioner Inman?
Ken, I have a question, and it's more of a general question, but since you're at the podium, I'll let you take it. It seems to me that often we're asked to close the gap, and many of us have been looking at the primary freight network and our partners at DOT and saying, how can you have a network when you put forward a map that has holes in it? Do your principles have anything to help us maybe prioritize a little better so that logically to me it seems like we would be more in an extension mode? Because I would argue that our investments aren't maximized when we continue to do projects, and we just saw the San Luis Obispo, and I realize that's not yours, but where you have these tremendous investments and then all of a sudden, whoops, we go back. And you talked, I think, about an 8-lane to a 2-lane. So what are you doing with your planning to help us be maybe a little more linear in terms of how we move and we don't continually go back and close gaps?
Right. Thank you for that question, Commissioner Inman. I do know that our ITIP strategy, our prioritization does prioritize gap closures. So in that sense, we have a lot of projects that we are prioritizing, such as closing the HOV gap in the Marin-Sonoma area. Right now, as you may know, it narrows down to 2 lanes and an expressway right at the border between Marin and Sonoma. So that is a very important gap closure that we have. Similarly, that Ross Chinden mentioned, the HOV gap closure. We currently do have HOV southbound from the Benicia Bridge, and it ends right after right around the 24 interchange, and there's about a 3-4 mile gap there, and then it picks up again. So that is also a priority for us to close that gap so we have a continuous HOV lane network.
But I'm suggesting it's one thing to close the gaps that we have, but what are we doing so that we don't create future gaps? Can we work a little smarter? I realize you all have to cobble together money from wherever you can, and so therefore we have some segments that occur in different places. But I really would hope that we get more where we don't have so many gaps to go back for, but we're moving more in an extension mode.
Absolutely.
Okay, any other question? Laurel?
Okay, Commissioners, next up on the agenda is the Tri-Counties Coalition. Although they no longer have an official MOU, Alpine, Amador, and Calaveras continue to coordinate their RTIP proposals. If you're looking in the book, they're on pages 5, 6, and 8. Each county is proposing to program within their target, and they are working together to program the Route 4 Wagon Trail Expressway project.
Thank you, Laurel. Good morning, Commissioners. It's always a thrill for 3 of the smallest counties in the state to follow MTC. I'm Charles Field, Executive Director of the Amador County Transportation Commission. I've been asked to introduce the Tri-County RTIPs to establish some continuity with the past. Some commissioners, especially Chair Gometti, are very familiar with the Tri-County Partnership and what was done between 1992 and 2010. The 3, again, of the smallest counties in the state worked together to form a partnership. It was acknowledged and shepherded by Caltrans and the California Transportation Commission. We successfully constructed 4 significant state highway projects costing over $120 million. We pooled $86 million in our regional shares during that near 20-year period, and were rewarded with $30 million in a regional improvement program funding, as well as we're the first project funded with the Prop 1B CMIA project to help complete the last of the 4 projects. 4 or 5 million from that program covered some cost increases due to the economy at that time on the last of the 4 projects. Due to reductions in state and federal funding and changing priorities in the 3 counties, we were unable to put together another similar program. And I know the Commission was disappointed in the 2012 STIP hearings the last time around regarding that fact. But I'm pleased to say that the Boards of Supervisors and the Transportation Commissioners serving all 3 counties have remained committed and do remain committed to try again. I'm here with Melissa Eads, Executive Director of the Calaveras Council of Governments, and Brian Peters, who is Executive Secretary of the Alpine County Transportation Commission. He's also the Public Works Director, the Planning Director, the Building Official, the Community Development Director, the LAFCO Executive Officer. I'll stop there. Alpine County, by the way, over 95% federal and federally owned property, population around 1,100. That's not a typo, 1,100, not 11,000. The 2 of them, again, are here to introduce the fact that the 3 counties are taking the first steps. We don't know what the outcome will be. We're hoping that there will be another partnership with the Caltrans ITIP program and possibly other outside funding before we're finished. But I won't go into the detail. You have it in your book packet, and we can answer any questions you may have. But we consider these the first steps towards trying to renew the Tri-County Partnership. Melissa and Brian?
Good morning, Melissa Eads, Executive Director of the Calaveras Council of Governments. I'm happy to be standing here today shoulder to shoulder with the Tri-County partners in the submittal of our regional transportation improvement programs. Though we have submitted solo county RTIPs this cycle, the Tri-Counties are once again working together to develop the coordinated programming strategies to advance state highway projects within our regions. Through the coordination of our RTIPs, we have partnered to stack the deck with state highway projects, look for opportunities to balance capacity and our shares, and ultimately to work together to reduce our ask from the state on behalf of our individual regions. These goals were met by and large due to the contribution and commitment to state highway projects from Alpine County. For this reason, I would like to recognize Alpine County, specifically Brian Peters and Scott Moss, and thank them for their partnership. Without state highway needs It's their continued investment in both Calaveras and Amador that has provided for a construction project in Calaveras and a construction-ready project in Amador within the STIP cycle. As Charles has mentioned, our history of partnership has provided for the delivery of over $100 million in construction projects throughout our region. Today, we are encouraged by our region's continued commitment to partnership, and we look forward to working together on strategies to fund the next $100 million. We would like to thank the Commission and staff for this opportunity. We're pleased to share with you our progress, and we're grateful for your continued support. Thank you.
Brian, did you want to say anything?
Brian Peters with Alpine County. I don't have anything to add. I was standing back there trying to figure out how many decimal points to take out to get the percentage of the state population, but I just couldn't come up with it in my head. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Yes. Laurel, back to you.
Commissioners, next on the agenda is Placer County. Placer County is proposing only to program PPM. They do have a zero target due to a very large project, which you may be familiar with, the Lincoln Bypass. Going over target does mean that some other county must program less than target. This county has also requested programming in their RTIP for money for an auxiliary lane on Route 80 from the ITIP, and this was not included in the proposed ITIP.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Celia McAdam. I'm the Executive Director of the Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, and as Laurel mentioned, yes, we're over-programmed, so you may wonder why I'm testifying here, and I'll get to that very quickly, but first I want to thank the Commission for the past partnerships. Your support of our projects in the STIP and the CMIA programs helped us attract other money, and we've been able to open 2 major state highway improvements worth over $400 million in just the last 2 years. And in a county the size of Placer, without a transportation sales tax yet, it's a pretty amazing achievement that we're very proud of. And I'll add that both the SR 65 Lincoln Bypass and the I-80 bottleneck widening through Roseville came in on schedule and within budget. We appreciate the Commission's faith in us by allowing us to overprogram our RTIP dollars to build the Lincoln Bypass, and as a matter of fact, we just got word that the construction budget closeout for the project came in about $13 million under the allocation. I expect that that money is going to end up back in the STIP at some point, and in reference to a conversation I had with Commissioner Madifer, I'd like the opportunity to possibly spend it again. In partnership with District 3, as Laurel mentioned, we put forward a request as part of our RTIP for a new partnership on essentially what's a 4th phase of the I-80 bottleneck project, which are 2 auxiliary lanes on I-80 through Roseville and Rockland. All told, it's about an $11 million project. We've got about $7 million that we've cobbled together, and so we're looking for another $4 million for that. We asked for ITIP money to construct these lanes and improve the traffic flow and the goods movement on this key interstate. Understand the ITIP dollars are short. We know we're not on the list, but that doesn't mean we're giving up. We are going to be starting environmental and design this spring, and we plan to be back with a shelf-ready project for funding back in 2016, whether it's ITIP dollars or SHOP dollars or whatever else we can cobble together, maybe that savings from the Lincoln Bypass. We would love to do another partnership with the Commission. I think we've proven that we're a good partner. We put our local money and developer fees onto the state highway system, and we've brought projects in on time, excuse me, and on budget. And so we hope that you'll help us look for a way to partner again on this important project. Thank you.
Any questions, Cecilia? Thank you. Back to you, Laurel.
Okay, Commissioners, next up is the Central Coast Coalition. The counties along the Central Coast have decided to partner this time to make a presentation. These counties, Monterey, San Benito, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Santa Cruz. Monterey is proposing to add funds to its Capital Corridor Extension project and is requesting state-only funds. They are also requesting state-only funds for their Route 1 operational improvements.
Did you order takeout again?
Staff cannot be bribed, just FYI. Okay. San Benito is proposing only PPM. San Luis Obispo is proposing some new projects in the first 3 years where there is no capacity. Santa Barbara is requesting future ITIP for construction of a project on 101. Santa Cruz is proposing to program new road and transit projects in the first 3 years. They are proposing to program less than target and have committed that the unprogrammed shares will be reserved for future programming on the Route 1 auxiliary lane and bike ped bridge project.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the chance to speak with you this morning. I'm George Dondero, Executive Director of the Santa Cruz County Regional Transportation Commission. RTC is a member of the Central Coast Coalition, as you heard, which consists of the regional transportation planning agencies of San Benito, Santa Cruz, Monterey, San Luis Obispo, and Santa Barbara counties, and the Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments, also known as AMBAG. The Central Coast Coalition was formed in 2010 to raise awareness of transportation issues on the Central Coast, to highlight our region as a major economic asset to the state and the nation, and to encourage investment in the region. This includes improving goods movement along US 101, Highway 1, and east-west routes, expanding passenger rail along the coast, preserving our existing transportation facilities, and expanding the active transportation as we work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Multimodal transportation facilities on the Central Coast are important, not just for each agency in the coalition, but for the Central Coast, for the state, the country, and the planet. We have welcomed the California Transportation Commission to town hall meetings in the past 3 years. These town hall meetings have been a great opportunity for the coalition to showcase recent improvements and current challenges. Most recently, we showed you the importance of our region when it comes to goods movement and the high value of products from the Central Coast. We also showed you that we are the salad bowl for the world, and Santa Cruz County is a major supplier of berries of many types to markets worldwide. And I've talked to people who have said they've seen Watsonville berries in Japan, so that's no exaggeration. Today, each coalition member will present highlights of their 2014 RTIP, going from north to south. In total, for the 2014 STIP period, the coalition's 2014 proposals invest over $200 million on the US 101 corridor in state highway improvements, rail, transit, and parallel local routes. Now I will summarize Santa Cruz County's 2014 RTIP proposal. Funding from CTC is very important to our county. We are making progress implementing our multimodal regional transportation plan in partnership with the CTC and Caltrans. Last Wednesday, we celebrated the ribbon cutting of the opening of the Highway 1 Soquel-Morrissey auxiliary lanes, a CMIA and STIP-funded project. The facility serves the most heavily traveled section of Highway 1, extends merging time, making it a safer highway, and significantly improving multimodal access to local schools and major employment and commercial areas. Since the 2012 STIP, over $12 million in STIP funds have been used for multimodal projects including rail, transit, active transportation, and safety projects on local roads. Our 2014 STIP proposal reflects broad multimodal transportation needs in Santa Cruz County. Using our available share of $5.9 million, projects were selected through a competitive process, resulting in a balanced proposal to preserve and improve the multimodal transportation system. RTC seeks to balance needs on the state highway system with very serious needs on the local street and road network. Two examples include the Highway 1 41st Avenue to Soquel Avenue auxiliary lanes, for which we are setting aside $2 million in reserve for construction. We are moving systematically southward on Highway 1, and RTC is working on the next phase on the corridor going down to 41st Avenue in Capitola. And since that last project opened, we've heard many, many compliments. It's rare as a transportation agency that we get fan mail, and we've been getting lots of positive emails on how much better that highway is working. So I think the strategy is proving itself. In 2012, we programmed STIP funds for design and right-of-way on the next auxiliary lane project. Considering our limited STIP target and our urgent non-highway needs in the county, we could not fully program the construction phase during this cycle. Another project is the Highway 19 intersection. It's a heavily utilized intersection serving about 80,000 travelers per day, providing access to the university, major commercial, and employment centers. And consistent with our regional transportation plan and the sustainable community strategy currently under development, our 2014 RTIP also includes projects that preserve existing transportation facilities, reduce congestion, fill gaps in the bicycle and pedestrian networks, and increase access to transit. RTC also created capacity in the first 3 years of the STIP for new projects urgently needed to preserve the existing transportation system. We urge the CTC to concur with our RTC's RTIP programming decisions and include all of these important projects in the 2014 STIP. Next, Debbie Hale with the Transportation Agency for Monterey County will provide you with an update on Monterey's passenger rail extension from Santa Clara County. Debbie?
Commissioner Inman, did you have a question of George?
I just had a question.
Yes.
I hear from our freight partners about seasonality crunches, and how have you factored, I believe your coalition is one of those that put forward the idea that we do have some crunches where we have seasonality with getting our goods to market. So how do you all address those issues in your planning?
I'm not aware of any bottlenecks seasonally in our county. The other counties may have that.
Maura, help me out here. I know you or Debbie, I'm hearing these comments, right? I'm sorry.
Debbie, do you want to address that?
As the bag of lettuce in the salad bowl, we know that there's, during the season, which is March through October, and this year maybe even November, December, the truck traffic is at least 2,700 trucks a day going through the South Salinas area onto the highways. What is our strategy for addressing that? We have a progressive program of projects in the 101 corridor. We've, if I can, I'll be talking a little bit of that in my presentation, but our goal is to continue to work through those various bottlenecks to address the seasonality. We don't have a differential strategy for the off-season, but we know, for instance, with our other industry, hospitality, that folks shift to the 101 corridor, making it even worse in the harvest season because Highway 1 becomes so congested. So improvements that George makes in Highway 1 helps us then free up capacity on the 101 corridor in our busy trucking season.
Yep, stay up there. Come on back.
Okay.
Your turn.
So as the bag of lettuce, healthy part of your salad, lettuce being number one in Monterey County, bag lettuce, head lettuce, romaine lettuce, they count it all kinds of different ways, but it's all tasty and good for you. Bag lettuce was invented in Monterey County, and if you talk to Congressman Sam Farr, he brings this up all the time. But it's an innovation because, as you can see, this lettuce is not turning brown. And if you read the packages, which I do when I travel around the country, you'll see Salinas on a lot of the bag lettuces, probably 80% of the bag lettuces in supermarkets all over the country. But in order to reach your salad bowl, and Carl's salad bowl, lettuce needs to be delivered to market. And the vast majority of those produce trucks, as I was just saying, are going through US 101, through the Salinas Valley. So our agency, the Transportation Agency for Monterey County, working with Caltrans and the CTC, has a proven record of delivering a multi-million-dollar program of projects on the US 101 corridor. The Prunedale Improvement Project, which is set to finish the last interchange this spring, the Airport Boulevard interchange right in the heart of that trucking area, which was finished a couple years ago, and Commissioner Dunn's favorite, the San Juan Road interchange at the Red Barn, which is now underway and lots of construction. We hope that you will come down with Commissioner Inman to help us break the ribbon on that next year. So our TIP builds on this corridor, the US 101, emphasizing both highway and rail improvements, as well as connections from our visitor-serving corridor, Highway 156. We also dedicate a substantial share of funding to rail, bus replacements, and bicycle and pedestrian improvements in recognition of our draft sustainable community strategy and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and all within our funding target. What I'm going to focus on is our key request. Our rail extension to Monterey County will extend the highly successful Capital Corridor rail service from San Jose, 68 miles then, down to Salinas as an alternative to the US 101 corridor. Our work on this project illustrates our creativity and our commitment to timely project delivery despite a myriad of hurdles, but we're coming to you this year to ask for your help. Our ability to deliver this project depends on state-only funding. Here's why. After working many years on a NEPA document in endless negotiations with our friends at the Federal Transit Administration, they decided that they would not release the NEPA document for public review. They had changed their minds because we were working with an intercity rail operator instead of a commuter rail operator, after first saying that was not going to be an issue. Just to give you an example, our CEQA approval took place in 2008, and it was updated in 2013. But unlike CEQA, NEPA, the lead agency is the federal agency. And if they don't release the document, then the document doesn't get released, and much less pursuing clearance. So when they gave us this last bit of news, we were faced with abandoning our years-long investment in this worthy rail project, or starting over again and spending millions and years to create a new document in the hopes of receiving approval from a different federal agency, the Federal Railroad Administration. So we brainstormed, how could we deliver this project with state-only funding? And after careful consideration and sharpening our pencils, we crafted the Kickstart Rail Service project to Salinas to focus on the most cost-effective portions of our project that can be funded with state-only money so that we could start the service as soon as possible. That Kickstart project will deliver service to the largest city in Monterey County, Salinas, to bring workers in our area north during the peak travel times to jobs in Silicon Valley and health services and education, and create a proven service that then can be expanded on in the future to other stations. So the Kickstart project trains will stop, of course, in Salinas, and then Gilroy, Morgan Hill, Tamian, San Jose, and beyond on the Capital Corridor line. We're poised to initiate design of the capital improvements for the projects thanks to the TCRP funding that you all have given us. But state-only funding is essential to keep this Kickstart project kicking. So we ask you to help us to kickstart rail to Salinas by programming state-only funding to it. In conclusion, TAMC's partnership with the CTC, Caltrans, and our other city and regional partners has been integral to our success in delivering projects in the 101 corridor and elsewhere in the county. It helps to support a major portion of our construction economy and, of course, agriculture and tourism. So we thank you for your past support, and we hope that you can continue to work in partnership with us on the future. So next in the coalition is Lisa Reinheimer with San Benito COG, and she'll provide you with an overview of their work on improving Highway 156 and its importance for goods movement. Thank you.
Lisa?
Thank you, Debbie. Good morning. My name is Lisa Reinheimer, and I'm the Executive Director of the San Benito Council of Governments. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. San Benito County is contributing bell peppers to the Heart Healthy Salad this morning. San Benito COG, in partnership with the CTC and Caltrans, has made great progress in the past few years when it comes to delivering critical projects that improve safety for our residents, the traveling public, for goods movement, and we accomplish this with your help through valuable state resources, including the STIP and Proposition 1B in concert with local transportation dollars. In 2010, the Council of Governments completed Phase 3 of a highway safety project on Highway 25, connecting thousands of commuters between homes in Hollister and work in Santa Clara County and points north and south along the US 101 corridor. However, looking into the future, we are again proposing to continue the advance of $9.6 million in STIP funds for an important project of statewide interest, the San Benito Route 156 Improvement Project, which connects Hollister and San Juan Bautista, but goes beyond that. Since this is the only major project in our proposed RTIP, let me take a few moments to make the case for its continued support. The project represents a very strong partnership between San Benito COG, the City of Hollister, the County of San Benito, and Caltrans, with significant investment of local dollars for a small community such as ourselves. The project supports goods movement with up to 9% truck traffic originating out of the Castroville, Monterey Bay, Salinas Valley, and Hollister area to the San Joaquin Valley. The project, of course, improves safety and reduces congestion. The Route 156 project also supports recreational travel between the Monterey Bay area from points north and south via US 101 and to other regions via I-5 and State Route 99. It is the only direct agricultural freight movement and recreational route south of the Bay Area connecting the Central Coast to the Central Valley, so it's critical. It is so important that if you get tied up on 156, you will lose produce to market if you have valuable crops that are perishable. This project and our proposed RTIP are aligned with our regional transportation plan and the sustainable community strategy, which is currently underway. And in conclusion, Route 156 has been designated a focus route in the Caltrans Interregional Strategic Plan, Transportation Strategic Plan, and supports the Caltrans 2014 ITIP proposal. Thank you for your continued support, and thank you for the opportunity, of course, to present our proposal today. And up next, you have Ron DeCarli from San Luis Obispo COG, who will discuss recent improvements in San Luis Obispo County for their plans on the US 101 corridor.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm Ron DeCarli, Executive Director of the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments. I appreciate the opportunity to come to speak to you today. My contribution here is a pile of grapes that goes towards the salad. Frankly, I would like to have had a bottle of wine, but our coalition members suggested we should stick with the salad bowl. I tried. Yes, here we go. Overall, the salad bowl represents the importance of agriculture and tourism in San Luis Obispo County. Agriculture and tourism together contribute about $2 billion a year and comprise two-thirds of our local economy. They both necessitate good interregional access north and south on Highway 101 and east to west on Highway 46 and 166. We also appreciated the opportunity to host the Coalition's Town Hall last September in Paso Robles. Thank you very much for all your staff support and for your attendance. As you may recall, Caltrans District 5 and SLOCOG conducted a field trip after September's Town Hall meeting to showcase the progress conducted and completed on Highway 46. The collective regional, state, and federal investments will enhance east-west access to and from Central Valley and the coast by improving 62 miles of rural highways to a 4-lane expressway. 29 miles on that 46 is in San Luis Obispo County. We continue to view this corridor project as a very successful partnership. We strongly support Caltrans' ITIP request for funding to continue these improvements, improving both east-west access for the general public, as well as improvements for the freight corridor, which currently has about 24% truck traffic. I'd also like to make a few brief comments on our progress and success on the 101 corridor in San Luis Obispo County. SLOCOG's north-south investment strategy has been based on a US 101 major investment study prepared and adopted in 1997. Consistent with that study, we've improved almost every major regional interchange in our county, improving those interchanges to accommodate a potential 6-lane freeway. constructed a series of auxiliary lanes to improve operations throughout the corridor, improved and extended parallel and frontage roads to get that local traffic off the freeway, expanded transit services, park and ride lots, and have established an extensive van pool program. Last year, we embarked on a new performance-based planning effort on US 101, the US 101 mobility study that I presented briefly at the workshop. This is a partnership planning effort. It evaluates the performance of various multimodal improvement concepts, along with smart mobility strategies recommended by Caltrans, all consistent with SLOCOG's preliminary sustainable community strategy that we adopted with our regional transportation plan in 2010. I share this with you as SLOCOG's draft RTIP calls for leaving funding on the table this cycle. The funding we desire to leave on program at this time is about 45% of our county share, almost $5 million. We expect to commit this funding in the 2016 STIP, along with the 2016 county share, for our highest priority needs on the 101 corridor as defined in this study. In closing, SLOCOG's draft RTIP does not propose any new north-south investments at this time. Two of our highest priority projects, the Los Osos Valley Road Interchange in San Luis Obispo and a 101 alternative route project known as Price Canyon Road, are ready to list and are currently programmed in the 2012 STIP in fiscal year 14-15. The Briscoe Road Interchange project in Arroyo Grande, also programmed in 2012 STIP, remains a priority for fiscal year 16-17. Our draft RTIPs recommends minor modifications to these projects respecting various finance plans. And lastly, for your information, we are also one of those aspiring counties that are actively looking at improving a local option sales tax in our county, target date 2016. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ren. Jim?
And at this point, I will introduce Jim Kemp to represent Santa Barbara County. Jim.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Gomedi and Commissioners. And of course, what would your Super Bowl party be without guacamole made from avocados from Santa Barbara County? I'm Jim Kemp. I'm the Executive Director for the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments. SBCAG, in partnership with CTC and the Caltrans, has made great progress in the last few years when it comes to addressing sustainable transportation and delivering critical projects that improve mobility in our region. This has been achieved using valuable Proposition 1B bond funds and STIP funds from your commission, as well as funds from our local sales tax measure, Measure A. Some recent highlights in our county include the adoption last fall of our 2040 Regional Transportation Plan Sustainable Community Strategy. We're one of the first in the state. That program, or that plan, was approved by the California Air Resources Board earlier this month. Projects in our Regional Transportation Improvement Program reflect the goals that we have set in our SCS. In terms of projects, we recently had ribbon cuttings for two highway projects, the Highway 101 Santa Maria River Bridge Widening Project, which links Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo counties, and also the US 101 Union Valley Parkway Interchange Improvement. Both projects were funded with Proposition 1B CMIA funds, as well as funds from our local Measure A sales tax program. We're grateful for the Commission's partnership on these projects, and both were delivered ahead of schedule and on budget. Of course, our region's top priority project is the Highway 101 HOV widening, which will add a carpool lane in each direction on 101 from Ventura County to the city of Santa Barbara, a 16-mile stretch of Highway 101. This is a very important project, not just for our region, but also for the state and the nation. Thousands of commuters are traveling from Ventura County to Santa Barbara on a daily basis, leading to congestion, along with the rest of the traveling public. And our goal is to have a uniform 6-lane facility to help reduce congestion in the corridor. This critical project addresses safety, goods movement, commerce, quality of life, and reduces greenhouse gas emissions, and will construct the first HOV lanes in the Central Coast. The Highway 101 widening project, our number one priority, is being completed in 4 phases. The first phase between Milpas and Hot Springs was completed in 2012 using STIP and our measure funds. The second phase is under construction. It's the 6 miles at the south end of the corridor and will be completed in early 2015. This is being funded with Proposition 1B as well as STIP funds. The third phase replaces 2 interchanges in the city of Carpinteria and will be ready to start construction in 2016-2017. The fourth and final phase is the largest segment of the project and includes adding 10 miles of HOV lanes between Carpinteria and Santa Barbara. The project is currently wrapping up the environmental review process. We hope to have that finalized by this summer and will be ready for construction in 2017-18. The project is being funded from a combination of sources. Off the top, $140 million from Measure A. That's our commitment to our highest priority project in the region. We're also putting in current and future shares of our Regional Transportation Improvement Program funds in both the 2014 STIP as well as future years of our in future STIP cycles. In the 2014 STIP, SBCAG is programming $2 million in our RIP funds, our regional share of STIP dollars, and Caltrans is proposing $5 million in ITIP funds towards the project. And we request that the Commission support this programming request by both Caltrans and SBCAG. Our challenge moving forward is that we have an unfunded need of approximately $150 million for the Phase 4 widening. While SBCAG will continue to seek funding from outside sources like the Federal Tiger Program, we will look to our partners at the Commission to help us meet this shortfall to deliver this very critical interregional project. Your continued commitment of ITIP funding over future STIP cycles will help a project that provides improvement for safety, removes a bottleneck on the only north-south corridor that's an alternative to Interstate 5 when Interstate 5 closes for inclement weather, is a major goods movement corridor for the state and the nation, and addresses a critical congestion relief project for thousands of commuters as well as interregional travelers. This project, of course, as I mentioned, is receiving a large investment from our local share of Measure A funds and RIP funding. In conclusion, as the Central Coast Coalition has shown you today and at past town hall meetings, the Coalition is a good steward of your transportation dollars. We're delivering projects and continuing to invest our scarce dollars in the Central Coast on planned highway, transit, and rail projects that improve mobility, goods movement, and create a more sustainable transportation system. Lastly, we hope to see you in Monterey for another town hall meeting this fall. Thank you, and if you have any questions, be happy to address them.
Thank you. Any questions?
Are you going to leave the food?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Are you going to leave the food?
You may have all of the food, yes.
There you go.
That's good. I thought that was Commissioner Gardino's lunch.
Yeah. I have a different way of presenting it. We're just very fond of props.
We love props.
Yeah.
Okay, Laurel?
Hey, Commissioners, next on the agenda is Nevada County. Nevada County is proposing to program above their maximum target in order to fund a cost increase to their Route 89 grade separation project. This project is multi-funded, including a Tiger grant. However, programming above target means that some other county must program below. They are also proposing to delay a project that actually results in a decrease in the first 3 years.
Thank you, Commissioners. Dan Landon, Executive Director, Nevada County Transportation Commission. As I left my office this morning, my administrative assistant asked me, well, what goes on at these hearings? And I said, well, I remember years ago people used to bring baskets of fruit, so deja vu. This first project I want to talk to you about is the State Route 89 UP Railroad undercrossing, as affectionately known as the mouse hole in our area. The picture on the left shows you the problem. We have 2 lanes of traffic going through a very narrow undercrossing that was constructed in 1922. We've been working on design and concepts for this since 1997. Given the extreme cost of widening the undercrossing, we finally settled on the proposal to construct a pedestrian/bicycle bypass of that area. In the 2012 STIP, we funded or programmed $1.3 million of RIP funds and thought the program or the project was fully funded. During the final phases of PS&E, we discovered some drainage, environmental, and ADA issues that raised the costs. And just in the fall of 2013, the town of Truckee was successful in achieving a $1.5 million Tiger grant. Those funds are all programmed in the year 14-15, and in order to preserve the Tiger funding, we're requesting, as Laurel mentioned, a $1.8 million advance so that we can move the project forward and preserve the federal funding that's already been programmed. Our second project, and Commissioner Arp, I'm pleased to let you know that if you'll recall back in 2010, you came up and visited us and we showed you the project site for our next project on State Route 49, which is incidentally a ITSP focus route. And the picture on the left on the second page shows the completed project. So that project is now open and functioning very well. We think it's even somewhat aesthetic and pleasing to the eye. But the goal of our next project is to widen the 3-mile, 2-lane segment of 49 that connects that 5-lane conventional highway to the 4-lane freeway at the city Grass Valley city limits. In 2012, we programmed $3 million for project approval and environmental documentation, and in fiscal year 15-16, with another $3 million for plans, specifications, and estimates in 2016-17. In the current RTIP cycle, we're proposing to move those funds for PS&E to the 17-18 year at the request of Caltrans District 3. We've had a long-standing partnership with District 3 on the 49 corridor. This will be the third project that we've moved into with them. And as you'll note, we have put forward the money for PS&E and PA&ED in anticipation of an ITIP programming in future STIPs for right-of-way and construction. With that, hopefully my pictures have conveyed the issue, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Dan.
Thank you very much.
Laurel?
Yes, Commissioners, next is Shasta County. Shasta is requesting a program less than target, but they are proposing their new projects in the first 3 years where there is no capacity.
Dan?
Yes, Commissioners, good morning. Dan Little, Executive Director for the Shasta Regional Transportation Agency. I wasn't sure how to top the salad prop, but then I remembered in Shasta we say that you don't make friends with salad, so all we could really offer would be some lumber for a house to build over a juicy steak or a glass of water to wash it down with. At least for a little bit we have some water. I'm afraid I'm going to sound a little bit like a broken record again, and after 10 years of doing this, I feel like I'm coming up here and saying the same thing all the time, but our focus and resolve is the same, and that's on Interstate 5 to widen Interstate 5 to 6 lanes within our urban area of our 3 cities. And I don't need to go over the virtues of Interstate 5 as a whole. Everyone knows that up and down the state, but maybe some unique things for Interstate 5 in our area, some facts you might not know. Interstate 5 is a bit of a funnel up in the Reading area. We don't have a parallel 99. Our main east-west focus routes come into the Reading area as well. If there is a closure, and there often is, where the whole state's in a world of hurt. Just in the 3 days I've been down in Sacramento here recently, there's been 2 truck fires, separate incidents that closed the highway, and you may not have even heard about a train that derailed and came against the I-5 bridge abutments, and so that was a very close call as well. Within the Reading area, 1 in 5 vehicles is a heavy truck on Interstate 5. 2 out of 3 vehicles are interregional trips. And this is the north third of I-5, north of Sacramento. This is the only metropolitan area along I-5, and it is the only area where I-5 is projected to fail. But more than that, and more than those state interests, it's also a huge interest in our region to maintain flow on Interstate 5. It's the regional backbone for our mobility and our economy, and so we, of course, want to be a good steward. So in that vein, just a little bit of history is in order. We started what we called the Fix 5 Partnership about 10 years ago, and as part of that, we had a big tent meeting about 7 years ago. We brought in all 20 of our local elected officials into one room, and we got together what I called my dream team of panelists, which was then Director Will Kempton, then CTC Director John Barna, and our Commissioner Jim Arp. And in that, and through that, we were able to build a consensus. And the consensus was this, that our region would focus our RIP shares on Interstate 5. And not just anywhere on Interstate 5, the main line of Interstate 5. So it was agreed that the interchanges themselves would be a local responsibility. We would put all of our resources into the main line, along with some local traffic mitigation fees that came out of that process as well. So that's what we've been doing for 10 years, and we've been saving our RIP shares. Not a RIP dollar has gone anywhere else except for our T shares and our PPM shares. And I remember 2 years ago when I testified about this, Commissioner Arp joked that when he drove up to that meeting, I think you said you had to slow down from 65 to 60 on Interstate 5. And 2 years later, and I hope you're sitting down, it's down to about 55 now. But the point is that it's going to fail, and it's going to take a while to fix as well. So I'm a little bit proud of our board's philosophy. It's kind of a novel philosophy about how we're approaching this, and that's to fix it before it breaks. And I'm proud of it because they chose mobility over what would be politically expedient, and that's to wait until it fails and wait till there's a crisis and then do something about it. But I got to say it's a little bit of a challenge when you go to compete for funding against other projects, because you come, you say, I come, I say we're trying to be proactive. Other people step up and say, well, we kind of ignored our facility, it's failed, so we need this money more than the Shasta region needs it. And so kind of the answer you get in the end is, yeah, Mr. Little, your freeway is still flowing at 60 miles an hour, so come back to us when you've failed, and then we'll consider your request for funding. So continually, I have to reassure the board that this approach of being proactive about Interstate 5 is a good approach, and it'll be rewarded. And thankfully, that's been true. And a lot of you have been up to the Reading area. You've seen the good things that we've been doing on Interstate 5, and we've done all those improvements where we've got it about half built. Our vision to make it 6 lanes through the urban area. And we did all that with using all of our RIP dollars and no ITIP dollars. And it was done partly through the local resolve to focus resources on Interstate 5 and the prior decisions of Director Kempton and by this CTC. Most of the help was in the form of Proposition 1B. So every 2 years, this vision that I'm trying to support, it's a bit of a nail biter, and I'm finding that the institutional memory is short and that it gets more tenuous each year, this resolve to keep the money on Interstate 5. And when I look around now at the 30 people that were in that big tent meeting, all my board is turned over. The CTC director is different. The CTC director is different. All city managers, we have turnover there, and the CAO. Out of those 30 people that were in that room, those decision makers, Commissioner Arp and I are kind of kindred spirits, because I think we're the only ones left standing out of those 30 people in that process. So it becomes a little bit of a challenge to keep up that momentum, and we need to keep having success stories. So that brings us to our RTIP proposal and where we're at now. I gave the board a couple of options for our funds. We've been building reserves for several years, and we have about $12 million. And I said we can either keep building reserves, sit on it, wait until we see some kind of federal or state participation to these dollars, or we can build a project now and show a commitment. And luckily, the board unanimously still said, okay, we're all in. Take our regional shares. They're going to build a 2-mile segment of Interstate 5 south of Reading, widen it to 6 lanes in the median, and that's our proposal. And if you ask why 2 miles and why $12 million, because that's all we have. That's what we have in RIP shares, so we're going to do that. But the board did make it very clear that they said in the next 2 years, they gave me marching orders to go after every grant we can, try to find that state and federal participation, work with Caltrans and work with the CTC. So if all other options fail, we will need to look to the ITIP, and the ITIP would have to step up for the first time and hopefully be some part of the solution so we can get match funds, because my board really feels that if it doesn't ever become a state or a federal priority, then it makes it hard for it to be a priority for them as well. So in conclusion, I think what I'm asking for now is probably the simplest request that you would ever get today, and it's like taking a page out of my wife's book where she says, I don't need you to fix the problem right now, I just need you to hear me, and I need to know that I'm on the right track. And so with that, I just wanted you to hear the story, which I might be telling every couple of years now to you, And at this point, I'll be glad to take questions or comments or words of support or hugs.
Tell your wife you're on the right track.
25 years of marriage, yeah, we're getting there.
Any other questions? Thank you. Laurel, back to you.
Yes, Commissioners, next on the agenda is Madera County. Madera County is proposing to program above their maximum target, above 200% of the maximum target, which is actually not consistent with the law. They are also requesting to advance their Route 41 passing lanes project.
Hi, thanks, Laurel. It's a privilege to be here. We are in the hole. We tried to build a really big project, and it went over budget, and so we're in the hole a little bit, but that's okay. We also do have one project in the pipeline, and it's going to be ready to go this summer, like Laurel said, and we're asking to see if we could get the programming moved up a year. If not, we'll come back next summer and ask for an early allocation. And if not, then we'll be happy to wait in line like everybody else until the next year when the money's available. I really wanted to just take a couple minutes to try to get an invite back to speak about a couple of subjects I've been working on. I was honored to meet with Andre and Laurel the other day, and I mentioned a couple of these things. And to be honest, I was kind of surprised. They were very humble, and they said, you know what, we're open to new ideas and things, and we'd be more than happy to have you come by. Anyways, in the state we hear a lot about the 4 big MPOs, and rightfully so. I mean, they're awesome. They do a lot of great work, but I represent a small MPO, and I've been working really hard, and I've been busy, and I've got some new ideas and some things I want to share with you. One of my theories is I'm trying to call it transformative design-based planning. And I'm also working on simple models concept, and I'm also working on something called microtransit. But basically, Derek figured out that we were overbuilding, and I've also figured out a way to prove that in the future, whether or not we are. And see, if we're overbuilding, that means that that money's not being utilized correctly, right? Like you build a freeway system and you expect 100,000 people to use it, but 20 years later, only 50,000 people showed up, right? So you're wasting that money. And when you're wasting that money, you could use it for other things like street and road repair, enhanced transit, livable, walkable communities, bicycle pedestrian facilities, all that good stuff that we want to do under 375. So anyways, thank you for your time today. I'm hopeful that I could come back and talk to you some other time about some of my ideas and concepts. I'm a road builder. I've been building roads my whole career, and I think I figured out a way to build them in an SB 375 world. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Derek. Laurel, back to you.
Yes, Commissioners, next on the agenda is Merced County. Merced County is proposing to program above maximum target, just under what the law allows, in order to program construction funds for the Los Banos bypass. This proposed programming does include a contribution from the ITIP that has not been proposed by the department. It actually is in the ITIP as a second priority for 2014 and a first priority for 2016. And any of this programming above target does mean some other county must program less.
Mr. Chairperson, members of the Commission, thank you so much for having us here today. I also have with us Supervisor Jerry O'Banion and Mayor Villalta from the City of Los Banos. Our goal is to construct Segment 1 of the Los Banos bypass on Highway 152. This has been a priority for Merced County and the state for over 40 years. We've been doing everything we can to get this project built, including committing over $3 million worth of our regional impact fees that we've collected over the last 7 years. But we need your help. We are requesting a maximum advance of $47 million of our regional improvement program dollars. But we are also asking the state to put in the $2.7 million. In the past, we've been working with the state as a 50-50 share, so we're putting in more of our share of our regional dollars to get this done. The total project is $50 million. That's a huge project for a small county like Merced County. So getting the STIP getting the construction dollars in this STIP cycle will free up our right-of-way dollars that we already have programmed that we have been unable to use because the construction dollars have not been committed. Los Banos Bypass on the 152 is a high-emphasis focus route in the state highway system. It's an east-west connector between the San Joaquin Valley and the Bay Area. It is a priority project in our San Joaquin Valley Goods Movement Plan that has recently been adopted. The benefit-cost ratio is 1.9 per Caltrans report. We have currently 14 stoplights, slowing traffic from 65 down to 25 miles per hour. Think of all those trucks on that route trying to get from one side of our state to the other. The accident rates on Highway 152 are above the statewide average, and we want to stop that. We want to get this traffic off of the main line going through the city of Los Banos and try to save some lives here. We have a very small STIP share, being from a small rural county, so we have to save up our dollars and get this project done, and that's why we're asking for the advance. So we did not program anything in the last STIP cycle, so we're asking for extra programming this STIP cycle. So we put everything we have on this one project. We're not asking for more than this. I know it's a lot, but it's still. The partnership we have with the state now and in the past, and we hope we can ask for your help to get this project moving again so we can get the traffic flowing from east to west on our state highway system. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the mayor of Los Banos, who would like to also express his support for this project and this programming proposal.
Good evening. I won't be repeating the comments that Margie made. She did an excellent job of portraying this project. I know from one of the earlier presentations, it was stated that why aren't the signals synchronized? And in our town, I guess the technology at this point is not available to synchronize all the 14 stoplights that go through Los Banos. So yes, we would love that as an initial start to help us out, because our traffic flow is less than 25 miles per hour, and there are a number of schools located on Highway 152 with thousands of students who are breathing this air of the 65,000 cars that go through our town each day. So, am I in favor of this project? Of course I'm in favor of this project. This project was first conceived in 1963. My father was on the commission when this project was first proposed. He is now 97 years old. We need an unimpaired east-west corridor. This bypass would create safe transportation around our already impacted roadways in our community and safe passage for our citizens. The Los Banos Bypass has been the #1 project for MCAG since 1991. And any project that keeps the traffic flowing smoothly and safely through Los Banos is a project that I will always support. Thank you for your time and allowing us to speak this morning. And I will now introduce Supervisor O'Banion, who will have closing comments.
Thank you. And I'm Jerry O'Banion, Merced County Chairman of the Merced County Association of Governments, as well as being on the Board of Supervisors for a couple of years. And basically, I've come today to give you a little bit of history as far as on the importance of Highway 152 and the bypass. And I want to thank the Commission for the assistance they've given over the years. And I wanted to read a quote that was made in regards to the roadways in Merced County just a few years ago. In fact, it was in 1973. And it says, then County Supervisor Emery O'Banion wrote that the 35 miles of the substandard Route 99 expressway in the Merced area was the last remaining unimproved portion of Route 99 in California. And I want to thank the Commission for solving that problem and taking care of it. And I think we all realize it takes a long time to get projects done. And it's so nice to go down 99 in Merced County and not have railroad problems or crossing intersections right out in the middle of this beautiful freeway. And we have the same desires for Highway 152 that basically is the most, according to the late Kirk Lindsay, one of the most important trade corridors or passages between Interstate 5, 99 to Interstate 5 to Highway 101, one of the most direct routes. And everything that we can do to help improve the trucks and the transport that goes into the ports that are going out of this country is very important. And I've always been, and as the mayor said, since the 1960s, in fact, in 1990 or 1968, there was a hearing at the Dos Palace Y to discuss the bypass of the city of Los Banos. And since then, it's been a priority in Merced County. It didn't take the first place status until the city of Livingston bypass was built and completed. But since that date, which was around 1998, Los Banos bypass has been the #1 project for the COG, the County of Merced, as well as the city of Los Banos. And we'd like to thank you, and hopefully you will consider the request. I know it's a larger amount. It's basically asking for advancement of funds, not actual money directly from the commission, but something that we can use to make a project that's been around for many, many years a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Any questions? If memory serves me right, didn't the city of Los Banos take a position that they didn't want this to be done as a public-private partnership?
I'll let the mayor answer that.
We have paid into the public-private partnership for many years, and we are the second largest contributor of private funds to this project over the many years. And what was happening is, we are continuing to fund this through our residential development. So we are not completely out of this. But Los Banos has gone through a foreclosure rate of 70%. A $500,000 home was selling for less than $100,000. Our tax rate dropped. Business permits just dried up. Commercial permits dried up. Everything. We had nothing to give. As I see, we're trying different things to try and motivate our community to bring it back so we can, again, contribute more funds. But as I see around the state, different cities, including Fresno, are reducing their impact fees. Everyone's trying to attract business. We're trying to improve I-5 because we're between I-5, the I-5 corridor. And so it's not that we want to reduce anything. We are still the second largest contributor to RTIF funds in the county, of all the cities in the county, and we are still contributing through our residential RTIF. So it's not that we have not taken a position that we do not want to be a partner in this program, Mr. Galmetti. It's something that we want. We are trying to bring our town back.
With the reduction in fees that you're experiencing in the city, a public-private partnership would help you out.
Yes, and we're also looking, I wouldn't be opposed to, Los Banos, it was put forth with a sales tax for transportation, and Los Banos is the only city in the county that passed it. And unfortunately, it was a countywide project, and it did not pass. But Los Banos did support it. So Los Banos wants this project. We've wanted it for a long time, and I hope to God it started before my father reaches 100.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you. Laurel?
Yes, Commissioners, Mendocino is next on the agenda. Mendocino is proposing to program less than target. However, they do have one new project request in the first 3 years where there's no capacity.
Good morning, Commissioners, and congratulations to Commissioner Dunn and Commissioner Giardino. I did bring a sample, a turkey bag full of our local product, Commissioner Giardino, but the Central Coast produce manager, John Dondero, sold it for $2,000 on the street last night, so I don't have anything. Okay. I thought it would be informative to inform the Commission a little bit about what we're doing with our RIP funds. I've got 4 projects here. One of them, new projects. One of them is Ukiah Downtown Streetscape Improvement, which is not on the state highway. We're wanting to use our RIP funds on that particular improvement. It's more than what you might think of a streetscape project. It actually is a road diet and addition of bicycle lanes and extension of sidewalks, and will improve the overall traffic operations and make the downtown Ukiah area consistent with the Complete Streets Act. And it is a former state highway, and we're taking care of it. The other three, the second one is on North State Street, actually in the county area, just north of the city of Ukiah, and it's one of the three main interchange changes that serve the Ukiah area, and it is the North State Street interchange. And what it does is improve access, well, ingress and egress from the state highway system by improving the ramps and general circulation in the vicinity of that important interchange north of town. The other two projects, one of them is actually a bicycle and pedestrian type project in Fort Bragg, south of the Noyo Bridge that was replaced some years ago, and that improvement is on Highway 1 in the city of Fort Bragg. The last one is also on Highway 1 on the coast in Walala, and that is the first phase of a downtown streetscape plan as well, which will, for the first time, put sidewalks on adjacent to the highway. And again, it's on the state highway. It's proposed to be a locally funded state highway improvement project, and it's going to be a Caltrans project funded through the RIP. That particular project, I've been working on it for over one dog year that we work in, just getting it to this phase, and we are hoping to advance a relatively minor amount of money, $340,000 in the first 3 years, to start the environmental phase for that particular project. I have hopes to utilize those ATP funds to finish off the project in the future, because I think it fits well with the ATP program. We have no ITIP request, and I think we're leaving about $1 million on the table on program. With that, just a comment regarding the ITIP. As a comment, although we're not asking for any ITIP money at this point, most of the rural areas of the state have state highways in a condition that are far below their route concept would indicate they should be. And there's lots of needs around the state, especially in the rural counties. And I commend those self-help counties that are able to do a lot on their own. And I wish we could get there, but we haven't been able to do that. With that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Thank you. I'm remiss. I'd like to welcome Kate White from the Transportation Agency joining us up here. Welcome. Back to you, Laurel.
Yes, Commissioners, Stanislaus County is next on the agenda. Stanislaus is proposing less than target, is requesting 2 new projects in the last years of the STIP, and they're proposing to change the implementing agency for their existing Route 132 expressway project. You do have a letter from a member of the public regarding this RTIP.
Carlos?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Carlos Yamzon, Executive Director for the Stanislaus Council of Governments. I actually have with me also Mayor Garrett Marsh from the great city of Modesto, also one of our policy board members. The STANCOG Policy Board believes that we have a very solid RTIP program here. A carryover actually from the 2012 STIP is some funding where the STANCOG Policy Board fully funded a State Route 132 project, 2 lanes, for 5 miles from 99 to about Dakota Road to the west. The right-of-way had been purchased since the 60s. We're very glad to get this moving. The board continues to follow those priorities and provide additional funding in this STIP cycle to make it a 4-lane expressway. So we're very excited about that. Some carryover also is for the Paladale Interchange project, which I know is one of the Commission's favorite projects, in Stanislaus County at least, and I'm hoping that with Commissioner Medaffer that becomes one of your favorite projects too. So we're following the consistency of the priorities of the regions. The second new project is actually a county road, the McHenry Avenue, which is very important because it's a north-south road that connects two state highways, 108 in Stanislaus County and 120 in San Joaquin County. County Road connects two state highways in two counties, very important to the region. We believe it's a modest program, but a very solid program. And I'd like to bring up actually Mayor Garrett Marsh now to speak in support of it, and appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos, and thank you to the Commission for giving me some time to speak. 2 years ago, I was on the STANCOG board, and it really initiated the move to take all of our STIP funding at that time, and instead of doing 5 separate projects partially, to move 100% of those to Highway 132 and fully fund it for the first 2 lanes. It had been our #1 priority, but we'd never really shown that commitment to it. And I think the entire STANCOG board took that and did accept it, and with a unanimous vote, moved all of their projects in their own areas to 132. And I think it shows our commitment to that highway. Tuesday night before last, the Modesto City Council redesignated 800 acres straddling that future entryway into our city for business park. And we need to diversify our economy. We have one of the highest unemployment rates in the state still, and we think that this is really a major step towards improving Modesto's economy and Stanislaus County's. Finally, I'd like to mention that I was in elementary school when 132's project plan started, and I am now on Medicare. And I think it's time. I told our STANCOG 2 years ago it's time to get serious, and I'd hope that you can join us in doing that. So thank you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, Laurel, back to you.
Members of the Commission, so in closing, I just also wanted to share, we got so excited when the Commission came over in October that the STANCOG Policy Board decided to go for a regional transportation tax measure, November 14 ballot. So keep our fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll be back to leverage some of that dollars.
Congratulations.
Thank you again.
Laurel.
Okay, Commissioners, next is Sacramento Area Council of Governments. The SACOG covers 4 counties, Sacramento, Sutter, Yolo, and Yuba, in their RTIP. As a whole, they are proposing to program below target. They're proposing 9 new projects in Sacramento County, the bulk of that in the last 2 years. They have a new project in Sutter County in the last 2 years. That amount is actually greater than can be legally programmed, and they'll split that programming among some of the counties within SACOG. And then YOLO, they have 2 new projects in the last 2 years, and we have a bicycle pedestrian project that we're confirming eligibility.
Right. Morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Thank you for your time. Renee DeVere-Oki, Manager of Programming and Project Delivery here at SACOG. I'm also here with Matt Carpenter, our Director of Transportation Services. SACOG is a 6-county MPO and 4-county RTPA for the counties of Sacramento, Sutter, and Yuba. Within the 4-county area, we pool our shares, as mentioned by Laurel. Our selection of proposed projects was done in conjunction with a broader call for projects that utilize our federal formula funds, CMAQ and RSTP. Our proposed share of STIP funding from the fund estimate was approximately $71 million, and what we have proposed in our RTIP is just below this amount. Our program as submitted represents a broad range of multimodal investments consistent with the implementation of our MTP and our SCS. SACOG, as part of this process, has met with District 3 to discuss their funding needs and how those fit within SACOG's funding policies. The district director is represented on our board and our executive committees as an ex officio member, and she was included in our discussions regarding the programming of our regional funds. As I noted earlier, our selection of STIP projects was done in conjunction with a larger call for projects. This allows us to mix funds and have a broader basis for project selections. A key area of focus for our program is projects that are ready to deliver and the development of shelf-ready projects. Our approach when putting together this RTIP was taking into consideration overall statewide constraint. The years which we propose the projects are the years which the projects will be ready to allocate. We wanted to thank Commission and staff for their coordination and collaboration during the 2012 STIP and the development process. We had 3 projects which we were able to move forward. These were the US 50 Consumnes River Boulevard I-5 project in Sacramento County. That was allocated in 12-13 with STIP. US Watt 50 interchange was also able to move forward using CMIA savings. And the Feather River Boulevard State Route 70 interchange in Yuba County was able to move forward using TCIF funds. Our STIP programming works within the early freed up capacity with the advancement of the Feather River project. Our newer projects that we're proposing are in the later years of the STIP. We are taking the opportunity to advance a previously programmed project into the freed up capacity, and that is a regional transit project, which includes necessary and critical bus replacements. Of the new projects, I would like to highlight the Sutter County project, Feather River Bridge at 5th Street. This is a project that adds parallel capacity and onto the nearby constrained State Route 20 and the 10th Street Bridge. This provides a vital connection between the counties of Sutter and Yuba and the cities of Marysville and Yuba City. The $15 million proposed in 17-18 leverages $45 million in highway bridge funds. This is a project that is critical for this area and has been in development over the last 10 years. I'd also like to note that SACOG has carried forward many of our former TE projects into the STIP, and we are happy to federalize these projects in order to allow them to proceed. With that, I will wrap up. Thank you for the opportunity to present. Both Matt and I are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions, Renee? Thank you very much. Laurel?
Yes, Commissioners, El Dorado County is next up. They're proposing to program only PPM, as they have a zero target due to a large program in the past, or project in the past. They are also reconfiguring their Route 50 projects with no change in the programmed amount. Going over target does mean that some other county would have to program less.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm going to start off by highlighting our first project, which is the Western Placerville Interchanges. This project includes 3 aspects. The first of which I would like to highlight for you is Phase 1, and that portion has been completed. We came to you in 2012 and requested CMIA savings, and we opened that ramp in December, so that portion is completed. Now we're asking for the second portion of this project. The impetus behind this project is the relocation of the historic courthouse from the city of Placerville that was built in 1912 has now been moved to a different location adjacent to our government center as well as the Justice Center. This project supports that. It includes a ramp, bicycle lanes, as well as a park and ride lot. The bicycle lanes will allow people to go from the historic downtown to the Justice Center. The transit park and ride lot will serve our at-capacity El Dorado Transit commuter service, and the ramps will allow access to our government center as well as the Justice Center and retail in that area. These projects are programmed for construction in 16-17. The second project I would like to highlight for you is on the South Fork of the American River. It's adjacent to the Marshall Gold Discovery Park, where we see visitors of over 700,000 people a year. This project is done in partnership with Caltrans. It's a $19 million shop replacement seismic retrofit of that bridge, and we are including in our RTIP a proposal to put bike and pedestrian facilities on that bridge. That also complements bridges that the local agency is replacing that will include bike and pedestrian facilities, so the visitors can access both sides of the river and the state park through that project. We are also part of the SACOG region, and these 2 projects are consistent with our sustainable community strategy. Thank you. And do you have any questions?
Any questions to Sharon? Thank you, Sharon.
Okay.
Laurel, back to you.
Yes, Commissioners, next up is Humboldt County. Humboldt is proposing to program more than their target, which means some other county must program less. They're proposing to program 5 new projects in the first 3 years where there is no capacity. However, a couple of those are offset by the deletion of the Waterfront Drive Extension project.
I have a handout. Good morning. I'm Hank Seaman, Deputy Director with Humboldt County Public Works Department, and I'm here to speak to the county's project for environmental and design work on the proposed Humboldt Bay Trail. We're proposing programming in the an advance on the 1920 allocation for spanning the next 2 years. The Humboldt Bay Trail is a proposed Class 1 bikeway, almost 7 miles connecting the 2 biggest cities in Humboldt County. Currently, these cities are separated by a 4-lane expressway, Highway 101. Really, for the last 15 years, there's been 2 long-standing desires for Highway 101. The first has been to address safety problems with the at-grade intersections, and then the second desire has been for a bike and pedestrian connection between Eureka and Arcata. And really, these projects have moved forward in parallel, and just in the last year, they've really converged. There's a consensus in the community for a rail with trail project. We've got the railroad and the highway paralleling between the 2 cities. And just at the end of last year, the California Coastal Commission granted a conditional consistency determination for the Highway 101 corridor improvement project, and that condition was that the Bay Trail needed to be funded concurrent with the highway project. So we've got this linkage between the Bay Trail and the state highway. This project is being developed as a collaboration with the cities, the COG, the county, and Caltrans, and the Railroad Authority. We're also a partner with the State Coastal Conservancy, and in addition to providing mobility benefits, this trail will have coastal access and recreation benefits. And the Coastal Conservancy has already invested in the north part of the trail, and we fully expect them to be a partner in the south end. Because the highway project is scheduled for construction in 2017, progress on the Bay Trail is a critical path to ensure no delays. So that's the reason for our request on the advance. It's really urgent that the design and the environmental for the Bay Trail proceed. Humboldt County hasn't requested an advance recently, and we have a good project delivery record, and so we feel like this is a good investment. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm also joined by a representative from City of Fortuna to talk about their project that's in the Humboldt County RTIP.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, as Laurel said, you're over-programmed, and one of my commissioner colleagues mentioned, have you considered looking at your Bay Trail project under our new ATP as that rolls out this year?
We'll definitely be targeting that for construction funding, but we need to have environmental and design to be specific on the cost and to be ready for that program.
Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Chair, Commissioners. My name is Merritt Perry. I'm the City Engineer for the City of Fortuna. Here with me today is Regan Candelario, the City Manager for the City of Fortuna. We're here to just show show our support for Humboldt County's project. It's an extremely high regional priority, and we wanted to be here to emphasize the city support and all the city support for that project. We're fortunate that our COG works well together to identify and implement a number of complete street projects, of which the county's project and the city's project proposed for on the RTIP are both complete street projects. The city's project fills a much-needed gap on Ronerville Road. It's an existing project that's been programmed since 2002, and it's the time for the city's project to be completed now. As I said, it's primarily a complete street project that will add bike lanes and sidewalks on a narrow minor arterial where there currently are none and where schools are located. It'll also add a two-way left turn lane in the vicinity of Ambrosini School where there currently are congestion issues and unsafe conditions. So again, we're here to show our support, and the city manager has handed a flyer to the staff, which I think you have, which provides a summary of the city's project. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you. Laurel, back to you.
Yes, Commissioners, Colusa County is next to speak. They are proposing to program less than target, but they are proposing a new project in the first 3 years. Also, they have proposed to delete a project that has funding in current year, which is not consistent with STIP guidelines.
Good afternoon. Good morning. Afternoon. And I apologize. I heard that other counties were bringing gifts. Had I gotten the memo, I would have supplied almonds and rice abundantly, but I'm sorry I didn't know. I'm just kidding. Being a supervisor, we laugh when we get offered gifts all the time. So we're before you today to request the Colusa County Transportation Commission 2014 STIP fund estimate be programmed entirely for 2014-15 for construction of a new project. State Route Highway 20 break-in access and Marguerite Extension in the City of Williams. The project has the following merits. The project is regionally significant and consistent with local planning documents, such as our general plan, our RTP, our RTIP. To prove the significance of this project, the City of Colusa has foregone its programmed FY 2014-2015 and moved those funds to this project. Our local Transportation Commission has voted to commit 100% of our 2014 fund estimates to this project. Significant financial commitment has already been made by the locals. We will have invested $830,000 in this project by June of 2014. The project will be ready to list by June of 2014. NEPA and CEQA will be complete by March. Right-of-way certificates will be obtained by April, and final design will be complete by June of 2014. Major collaboration between the state, the RTPA, local agencies, and landowners has made this project possible. Landowners, as a matter of fact, donated the land for the right-of-way. This project is a true definition of a public-private partnership. We'll be happy to answer any questions. We also have the Mayor of Williams, our county engineer, and our city manager with us as well.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Thank you very much. Thank you. Laurel, back to you.
Next up is Tehama County. They're proposing to program less than target. They are requesting to program supplemental funds to components that have already been allocated right away for the McCoy Low Water Crossing Project and PS&E for the Jellies Ferry Bridge Project. They are also, although we're working with them on this, they were proposing to delete a current year in program replacement, and as I say, we're working with them on that now, so that will be fixed. They are making that consistent with guidelines.
Barbara?
Good morning, Chairman Gelmetti, Chairman-elect Gardino, Honorable Commissioners, Executive Director Boutros, CTC staff, and agency staff. I am Barbara O'Keefe, Deputy Director of Transportation for Tehama County, here on behalf of Executive Director Gary Antone, and I am pleased to present the Commission with a visual handout summarizing the 2014 RTIP and address the CTC staff comments. As you can see on the cover map, Tehama County is approximately 2 hours north of Sacramento with a population of approximately 63,000 and an unemployment rate of 13.2% with a median income of slightly over $38K. The transportation network consists of 1,100 road miles, more than 500 bridges, and the county is dissected by I-5, the Federal Highway Priority Corridor, which is also part of the National Network for Trucks in accordance with the Surface Transportation Assistance Act. At the top of the cover page, you will see 2 seismic replacement bridges, and moving clockwise, you will notice pictures of improvements in the community of Los Molinos, which is more economically depressed than the rest of Tehama County. One of the projects is on State Route 99, which leverages more than $7.3 million in Prop 1B funds, ARA, T, and RIP funds. The second project, which connects State Route 99 and bundles Safe Routes to School project, a community block grant, as well as Complete Streets. We are really looking forward to competing in the ATP program, and we greatly appreciate the rare opportunity to supplant funds. The photos in the middle and the bottom of the page are a goods movement and safety project, which reconfigures the I-5 intersection. That leverages ARA dollars, and the final picture, as you can see, is a critical scouring of a structure near State Route 36. Please turn to the second page, where you will see a table summarizing the 13 projects, which is $17.5 million in RIP dollars that leverages $57 million in other funds for a total of $75 million. 95% of the programming is for construction. Jobs, jobs, jobs. The one new project we have in our RTIP is on 99W, which was formerly State Route 99, and the I-5 alternate route. Please turn to page 3, where you will see phase 3 on State Route 99. Caltrans is the lead agency, with the assistance of Tehama County, delivered improvements in curb, gutter, sidewalk, and bike lanes, a traffic signal, and a crosswalk. These pictures amplify that the state route system in rural counties lack basic facilities. So you can see why we're very excited about working with District 2 under the new ATP program. If you turn to page 4, you will see the Jellies Ferry seismic replacement bridge over the Sacramento River. You will notice that is a single-lane structure with a wood deck, and the bottom picture shows roadway flooding, and that is the reason for the second structure immediately north of the seismic structure. The second structure replaces a low water crossing and mitigates flooding, and this is the East I-5 alternate. And the supplemental is because of the increase in scope, and that is for the second structure. I am pleased to communicate that the remaining pages are photos of delivered bridge projects, a bike lane with a bridge which connects to the I-5 park and ride, and construction of 2 I-5 interchanges, which are critical to the state and region's goods movement and everybody's economy. My remaining comments do not have visual photos. As the RTPA staff, I presented performance measures for each project with the RTIP. The performance measures included, but were not limited to, safety, reliability and productivity, accessibility, mobility, and system preservation, and also return on investment. In regards to sustainability, if you turn back to the front cover, you will clearly see how the total transportation system network are critical to the state and regional system. These projects improve the performance and reliability of State Route 99 and Interstate 5. In closing, I would like to thank the Commission and Caltrans staff for their assistance in the preparation of the RTIP. The $17.5 million in RIP funds programs will assist the delivery of the transportation improvement. I appreciate this opportunity to share this information. This concludes my presentation. Are there any questions?
No. Thank you, Barbara. Laurel, back to you.
Okay, Commissioners, our last on the agenda is Siskiyou County. Siskiyou is proposing to program over target, which would mean other counties must program less. They are proposing to add 14 new projects. For many of these, they're requesting state-only funding. The funding for these projects already falls within the parameters of the department's state-only policy, so there shouldn't be an issue with those. They are also proposing to delete a project that includes current year funding, which is not consistent with STIP guidelines.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I'd like to invite you to join me on a mental trip to Northern California and your northernmost county along the I-5 corridor. My name is Melissa Cummins. I'm the Executive Director for the Siskiyou County Local Transportation Commission. And just to give you a kind of a snapshot of Siskiyou County, we can have 6,500 square miles of land, which approximately 62% is federally owned. With the percentage of federal lands in the county, we have a tough time coming up with additional tax revenue, and that also affects our available funds for road rehab. Additionally, the county consists of 9 incorporated cities, many of them with populations below 3,000, so they have very limited funds. So most of the time they do look to the STIP program to fund the road rehab on critical pathways to and from schools, work, etc. This STIP cycle, our goal was to minimize project cost and maximize deliverables. So some of the things we've looked at in this last cycle is all of the agencies were required to review existing programmed projects to make sure that their estimates were with current values on construction dollars and so forth. In addition, we are combining a couple of projects to minimize the cost for those. If they're in adjacent areas, we're asking the agency to put them together and see if they can make them work on a smaller scale. And then additionally, we are scheduling, we have 2 projects potentially programmed that will go out to bid simultaneously, and we're hoping to see a reduction in materials costs on those also. We're also requiring agencies to look for other funding sources, which is another thing I'm sure you've heard from multiple agencies today, is look for other pots of money to fund these projects. And the T project that we did have programmed is one of those examples. We did ask the agency to pull the project. They have volunteered to do so, and they will be looking to the ATP program to find funding for that. I briefly wanted to highlight a couple of the things, and actually Laurel just touched on them. When I looked at the hearing book and our page, I see the big bold delete, delete. So I wanted to just briefly touch on those. The I-589 project that is proposed to be deleted, this project was originally designed to reconstruct an interchange at the intersection of I-5 and Highway 89 just south of Mount Shasta. When the Caltrans presented the alternatives to the public, there was a noticeable lack of support from the public and the region itself. So we have continued to collaborate with them, and they have brought back to the table another project that is a similar proposal, except for it has some a reduced scope of work. And so they have requested that project, and that project will hopefully be included in our 2016 RTIP. The next one is the Main Street project, which is also proposed to be deleted. When we went to the agencies, we explained to them we had $16 million in projects and we only had $10 million to spend. So their request to them was prioritize your projects for your agency and then come to the table. When we did that, the City of Weed has another project which we are requesting to program, which is the Vista Drive project. That project will increase the availability of truck traffic. Currently, that site sees the highest volume of truck traffic within Siskiyou County, and if we don't get those trucks to stop in Weed and fuel there, we lose that tax revenue because they'll either go up 97 to Klamath Falls or they'll go up I-5 and go into Medford. So we're hoping that by constructing that project and fixing that roadway, we can keep those trucks here in California, and California can get the tax revenue from those. The next one is the Angel Maple Operational Improvement Project on Highway 97. This is a public-private partnership between Caltrans, the RTPA, and a private firm who will be contributing $50,000 towards the construction. This project will actually increase the safety along the 97 corridor coming into the City of Weed and promote a private development in the process. And then lastly, I do want to address the state-only funding that's mentioned on the notes. We do have multiple state-only funding requests, and that is primarily due to the fact that many of our agencies have roads that are not functionally classified to where they're eligible for federal funds, and that is another avenue that we are pursuing to try to get some of those changed so that we won't be coming to the CTC and requesting state-only funds in such large proportions in the future. Lastly, I want to point out that although we are requesting to overprogram by $1.1 million, we are freeing up approximately $960,000 in the first 3 years of the cycle. We did have 2 projects that were allocated in August that just went out to bid in the last month, and they both came in under the allocation, so we're hoping to see some savings there. We recognize that we are not alone in this, that many of the counties statewide have less money, more cost, et cetera. So we are going to continue to work on, as I mentioned, finding other funding sources. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Any questions? Melissa, I have, I've been on here a while, so I remember there was some discussion about loss of federal dollars for the federal lands. And so can you bring me up to date of what's the status of that?
To my knowledge, at this point, the county road department has not secured those federal dollars. The last thing I heard is that they're still facing a $3 million deficit next year.
What percentage of your total budget were those federal dollars? Do you recall?
I don't know the exact numbers, but I'd be happy to get them for you.
Because that, I think, makes a big hole in your overall budget, I believe.
Yeah, the county road department alone is slated to lose almost $3 million. I think the last allocation they received was about $2.7 million, and that's just for their budget. That doesn't include the other funds that go to the county for schools and other items.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Laurel, back to you.
Yeah, I would like to just add one thing. As I said at the beginning, we do occasionally make mistakes. She's actually not really 1.1 million over. We have a mistake on one of her projects that adds like 745,000, so she's not as bad off as she thinks.
That should be good news.
And also, I apologize. I left Mr. Tippett out. Trinity is next. They are the last county on the agenda. They are proposing to program over target. They are proposing to add new programming in the first year of the STIP period where there is no capacity, and they are requesting to lapse some current year projects and reprogram the same components, which is not consistent with the STIP guidelines.
Commissioners, Rick Tippett, Executive Secretary, Trinity County Transportation Commission. Commissioner Giormendi just asked a question about forest reserves, secure rural schools. For our county, it used to make up 80% of the funds, and right now with the current reductions that we've gone through, it's down now. We are receiving this year $1.6 million, and it makes up 47% of our overall funds, and we wait every year to see as it can be renewed for the next year. Congress is looking at some sustainable approaches to it to see if they can continue on. They have talked about restoring it to 2010 levels, which we all get excited about, but we right now are just simply happy that we get to see it again the next following year. So it's a very important piece, and it does make things quite different or difficult. In our county, we used to be able to plow roads when it snowed, and last year we had a snowstorm on December 20th, and there were some roads that the first time they saw snow plow was in 2 weeks after the storm. So it has had a dramatic effect to small rural county Department of Transportation. But I'm here today to talk about the STIP. Trinity County has been focusing on a project since 2001. It's the Lance Gulch Road Project, or also known as the East Connector. It's the largest project in Trinity County's history, or Trinity County Public Works history. It's currently about 5 cycles worth of funding. And it's almost 100% STIP funded with a little bit of contribution from the road funds. The benefits to the community are to tie the community together, because right now we have a system in Weaverville of spokes that go out from the center of town and nothing that goes around the edge to tie it all together. Provides fire ingress, or egress when there's a fire. People have a different way to go out instead of going in the center of town. It also reduces congestion on our main corridor. And our largest employer is going to be also served because the road goes around the back of them, and they're planning on taking traffic off the main road and around on this new road so that they have access to the building. And the biggest thing is it's going to be the first traffic signal in Trinity County. So it gives you an idea of how big of a project it is for us. The project is fully designed, and right-of-way has been acquired and is ready to go. And excitingly, yesterday, you had authorized the first phase of construction for that project.
In this STIP, we were asking for advanced programming to phase the second half of the project. We did take a lot of other projects that we had and kind of, for better words, working with staff, which I might add were very, very helpful, both CTC staff and Caltrans staff. We essentially combined everything together, broke it back out, and figured out a way that get phase 2 constructed under this this current allocation if the CTC should choose to move some of the monies forward. So that's what we were asking in the STIP cycle, and then we were asking for another project that was identified outside of this project as our #1 priority due to safety concerns. Folks that go up and down Trinity Lake usually are driving in big campers, and they don't, there was no place for them to pull out on the side of the road. So partnering with Caltrans, we've developed a turnout program, and we do ask for a little bit of money to do design now with the actual project as a joint project with Caltrans programmed in the out years. And finally, one of the, you did ask earlier about looking for other projects. One of the projects that we did combine was a ATP project, and we plan on chasing after some PED money to go after a bridge that was consolidated into the East Connector project. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Any question? Commissioner Medaffer.
Just one question. Will you make sure that that new traffic light is synchronized with San Francisco? Thank you.
We'll try, but knowing the queue capacity length or the difference, you might lose your platooning by the time you get up there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Just a general comment. I think this commission, especially myself, is very concerned about how we help out the rural counties. And I realize the loss of revenue from the federal government is a significant hit to both you, Siskiyou, Humboldt, Del Norte, et cetera. So I'd like to have a further discussion with our staff to figure out how we can help you guys fill that hole somehow. I don't know how, but it's certainly, you could use the help up there.
Thank you, and they have been very helpful up to this point, trying to figure out how we can get to that point.
Okay. Laurel, if we're done with those presentations, I have several requests to speak.
Yes.
All right. We'll start with Joshua Stark, followed by Justin Horner. We're going to limit these comments to 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chair Gilmetti, members of the Commission, and staff. My name is Justin Horner. I'm from the Natural Resources Defense Council, and I'm here to just make some general comments about the ITIP. As you all well know, in the past few years, particularly since the passage of AB 32 and SB 375, transportation policymaking in California has broadened from its traditional emphasis on mobility and safety to include a strong commitment to environmental protection and promotion of sustainable community development. I think you will all agree that a number of ongoing statewide transportation planning processes, this more comprehensive outlook, one that seeks to balance economic productivity, safety, convenience, and the environment, is becoming mainstream, and this is very welcome. The draft of the ITIP, however, does not appear to be in step with this new normal situation. NRDC would strongly recommend that the ITIP include as both criteria for project selection and for evaluation metrics that relate to environmental performance, such as greenhouse gas emissions from project materials, construction, or operation, or the potential growth-inducing impacts of projects that expand capacity. As I've mentioned, there are a number of current state-led planning processes that are analyzing and incorporating these measures, and I would say that staff should feel encouraged to look at these for suitable measures in finalizing the ITIP. A number of recent and ongoing efforts, including the adoption of SB 375, related transportation investment, land use, and greenhouse gas emissions, the discussion over investment of any proceeds from cap and trade, and the evaluation of transportation impact analysis per last year's AB 743, all we feel call for the ITIP to look beyond its traditional emphasis on capacity expansion, level of service, and facilitating the physical growth of California to fall more in line with California's overall environmental goals and commitment to more sustainable land use. Consistent with this suggestion, we would also recommend that projects within the ITIP be analyzed in light of SB 375 and how certain projects, particularly those serving primarily passenger vehicle travel to outlying areas, impact the ability of regions to comply with 375 and hit their SCS targets. And we're heartened to hear a lot of the COGs and counties here today talking about their investment strategies in relation to their sustainable community strategies, and think that the ITIP itself as a whole should make that one of its primary foci. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Justin Horner, followed by Jeannie Ward-Waller. Oh, excuse me.
I'm sorry, that was Justin. We switched on you.
Joshua Stark.
Apologize for that. Also, for my scruffy appearance, duck season ended this weekend, so I'll be cleaning up shortly. I'm Joshua Stark. I work for Transform, an organization that advocates for sustainable land use, transportation, and housing policy. In addition to fully supporting the words of my colleague Justin, I would also, I'm also directing my comments toward the ITIP, but specifically the sadly inadequate level of funding for rail projects and non-highway projects more broadly. It's clear that the administration and the legislature have sent signals that the state must shift its transportation priorities to projects that reduce greenhouse gas emissions, specifically in ways that reduce vehicle miles traveled. And it's encouraging to see that Caltrans does propose funding much-needed improvements to the San Joaquin rail corridor. However, it would be even more encouraging if they had funded projects in the Los Angeles-San Diego corridor, 4 of which were prepared to receive funding this cycle, but were overlooked. The current ITIP met the legal requirement of 15% to go to rail by just 2%, and we don't believe that sends the proper signal that the administration and the legislature would like to see when it comes to funding and reprioritizing for sustainability and mode shift. In particular, the Los Angeles and San Diego corridor is the second most heavily traveled rail corridor in the United States. The San Joaquin corridor would address 1.5 million users, which is a really large number. The San Diego and Los Angeles corridors actually will impact nearly 7.5 million users per year. This rail corridor is heavily traveled by multiple different types of trains, and upgrades are needed to allow for increases in frequency of trains to reach service levels to achieve significant greenhouse gas reductions and help the regions meet their SB 375 goals. It's used by Metrolink, Amtrak, the Coaster, and Freight, and double tracking throughout would allow for more reliability of service and reduced headways to make it a consistently viable option for commuters. Service increases are mostly limited due to the need to double track along the corridor, and that's what those 4 projects would do, with small double tracking. Investments at any point along the corridor increase speed, allow additional trains, and reduce headways, and will draw eventually, eventually meaning, pretty quickly, greater ridership, reducing vehicle miles traveled and GHGs, and increasing ridership on local and regional systems. This is the backbone of San Diego's transit network. Increasing service on this line will increase ridership on the regional transit bus and light rail network that's planned for significant expansion in the coming years. By 2030, for example, SANDAG wants to double the amount of trains in the San Diego region that operate daily on the corridor from 50 to 100, and that would, they anticipate, double ridership to nearly 15 million riders per year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? The next speaker is Jeannie Ward-Waller, followed by Tamara Layton.
I seem to be too tall for the microphone. Hi, Commissioners. I was here yesterday. Good to see you again. I was here speaking on the ATP. Jeannie Ward-Waller. I'm with the Safe Routes to School National Partnership. I want to support both Justin and Josh's comments, and I just wonder, how these STIP projects are being scrutinized. This is a new process for me, but I think this forum here is the appropriate one to talk about how these projects are supporting state-wide goals and priorities. There was a report just released this morning by the State Transportation Agency that offers some serious reform of Caltrans operations and management. And I think that certainly extends, as Josh and Justin were saying, to the ITIP, the projects in the ITIP. But I wonder as well about the regional projects. And Without this being a particularly open public forum, there's quite a bit less public discussion here today than there was yesterday about a program that is quite a bit smaller than this one, and these projects are potentially more impactful statewide. So I just wonder, you know, the Sustainable Communities Strategies and the RTP process is, I assume, the public process for looking at these projects, but how are they supporting state goals? And I would hope that we would have that discussion here today, and that the projects would be closely scrutinized for, you know, how they are meeting the performance measures that we would want them to statewide. So I just put that question back to you. You know, what is the public process? How are these projects being prioritized? And how are they meeting state goals and performance measures, which is, as you all are quite familiar, is becoming an increasingly important discussion nationwide. You know, what are the metrics and how are we meeting those? Thank you. I'll stop there.
Okay. Thank you. Laurel, did you want to address that?
Well, I would answer that in terms of the regional programs, those are all vetted at the local level, where they put together their regional transportation plans. They have their sustainable community strategies. They go through, I'm sure, multiple public hearings for these projects, and then they adopt them. They adopt their RTIP at a public hearing. So before they come to us, they've gone through that. On the ITIP, again, they base theirs on an ITSP, and their projects also have to be in the RTP. So generally, this is done at the local level.
Does that help you?
Sure. And I guess my question again was just, you know, what are the statewide goals and how are all of these projects contributing to those goals? Because I would assume that that is the Commission's role, is to look at these from a statewide basis.
I would suggest you have a little meeting with Susan Branson and Laurel Jensen. They can fill you in on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Tamara, followed by John Taylor.
Hi, I'm Tamara Layton, the Executive Director of the Del Norte Local Transportation Commission. Good afternoon. I'm in the public section of this meeting because I have no new programming. I acknowledge that we have over-programming on the state highway system. We have a bridge replacement curve realignment on U.S. Highway 199. We appreciate that. It's a project that greatly benefits the state, and that has led to a partnership with Caltrans for STAA access on the corridor. In 2004, we had 6 local projects in the STIP, and we have secured alternative solutions for 5 of them. Fred Haight Drive was programmed in the STIP in 2002. We have spent a significant amount of taxpayer dollar to prepare this project for construction. We've been a diligent partner for the benefit of the state. I'm here at the direction of my commission to request time on for good behavior. Please maintain the current schedule for the Fred Haight Drive project that has been programmed since 2002. We need to finally see this project through construction.
Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you.
Any questions? Next speaker is John Taylor, followed by David Katrowski.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm John Taylor, Chief of the Transportation Planning Branch at the California Air Resources Board. And I'm not here to speak with any specific comments on any of the projects that have been presented today, but I would like to take a few minutes to speak on the importance of including air quality in transportation planning and project selection. Just this past week, our staff briefed our board on how we're doing on air quality progress in the state. And we have achieved significant reductions, especially over the past decade. We've made tremendous strides in reducing the emissions of both criteria emissions, ozone and particulate matter, and greenhouse gas emissions in the state. But there is still significant reductions in all of those, ozone, particulate matter, greenhouse gas emissions, that need to be done. Even now, about a third of the Californians in our state live in communities that don't meet federal standards, that don't meet the federal air quality standards for either ozone or particulate matter. And, of course, we have a long way to go with greenhouse gas reductions to meet the 2050 goal of reducing 80% below the 1990 levels. Now, ARB has been working with Caltrans, other state agencies, MPOs, and local government on issues such as freight movement and SB 375, and we look forward to that collaboration. We at ARB are committed to work with Caltrans on the Freight Mobility Plan and the California Transportation Plan, and we see the opportunity for these plans to guide statewide projects in the future. There is a need to look at statewide performance metrics when evaluating projects. In addition to those more traditional metrics such as system efficiency, congestion relief, safety, and economics, which are important, no doubt. But we should also be looking at air quality impacts and factors related to sustainability. So we at ARB look forward to working with all stakeholders on this process. Thank you.
Thank you, John. The next speaker is David Katrowski, followed by Reagan Candelario.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and staff. My name is David Katrowski, Managing Director of the Capital Corridor, the train service connecting the greater Northern California metropolitan areas. Looks like I'm the caboose here. I'll be a high-speed caboose here and be really quick. I want to thank you for including our capitalized maintenance program. Again, it's an annual program. It's a public-private partnership with our host railroad, Union Pacific, and because of your investment in our program, we've been able to boost our on-time performance. Last year, we ended at 95%, fourth year in a row of being the top most reliable service in the Amtrak system. And for the first 4 months almost, first third of the year, we're at 97%. So I want to thank you very much for that, and we'll continue to use that money wisely and prudently. I also want to say thank you for putting in funds for the Phase 2 of our Oakland-San Jose project, which will allow us for increased frequency and increased trains down to Silicon Valley, San Jose, our fastest growing market right now. It's programmed in the out year. Our design and environmental is underway. We should be done with that mid-2015, so I want to work with staff to see what we can do to advance that up. We also have connectivity funds and the possibility of some local county funds as well. So once again, I want to thank you very much. I really appreciate your investment in the state's intercity rail program, especially on the Capital Corridor. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, and the last speaker, Reagan.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Regan Candelario. I'm the City Manager for the City of Fortuna up in Humboldt County. Just wanted to take this opportunity during public comment to introduce myself and talk a little bit about our county. I saved all of the technical comments with that came through our city engineer and our rep from the HCOG. They're the experts. They know what's going on with those projects. But I wanted to make sure that I shared that we have an excellent partnership with that organization, both with our county and with our COG, and we really value that. We've seen at the local level that that's the way things get done, and that's the way we're able to be successful. And then ultimately that translates up to the CTC, which is an excellent partnership for us. We're fortunate to have been on the list and to be able to do the projects we can through your partnership. That's something that's very valuable to us at the local level. Also, I wanted to share a little bit about Humboldt County and make sure that you know where we're at and where we are in the state. I heard a couple of different comments today about that, so there is an understanding and awareness of where Humboldt County is. I've been up there for about a year and a half, and they say that it's behind the Redwood Curtain. It is a little bit of a remote county, but it's excellent. There's a lot of natural resources there. There's a ton of natural beauty, Humboldt Bay, Arcata Bay. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the redwoods that are up in that part of the state. The excellent coastline at Trinity, or I'm sorry, in Trinidad there. So there's a lot to offer up in our county, and we value our transportation, and we need to get people up there. Tourism is very important in our county. So again, I just wanted to introduce myself and say a couple things about Humboldt County and thank the Commission for their knowledge and of our county and what we've got going on up there in some of the remote areas of California. I know that these Commission meetings are for the Northern California city and or Northern California areas, and sometimes we don't get recognized as being part of that because we are so far north. So thank you very much for your time and effort today, and I just wanted to make sure that you knew who we were. And again, thank you for all of your time and efforts.
Thank you, Regan. Go ahead, Commissioner. I think I'm ready.
Well, I want to thank those of you who have stuck it out to the end, and for the comments that have been made. I have just a couple of observations. One, for those, there's projects here that seem to me would be eligible for some of the cap and trade funding, particularly as they relate to active transportation projects. I don't know, I didn't want to ask each one of you as you've brought up these various projects whether that has been part of your thinking, but I think that you ought to be aggressively pursuing that avenue for some of this funding. Secondly, in terms of whether regions and counties are reflecting statewide goals, I think that there are some statewide goals that are worthy and are, that we have a network that we need to try to connect effectively and efficiently. We have issues like greenhouse gas reduction that need to be addressed. And I support many of those things. But I would be the last person in this room, I think, maybe not the last, but one of the last, to suggest that everything we do is should be a reflection of statewide goals. There's a lot of needs and a lot of sensitivity coming from local regions that are reflected in meetings like this. People are bringing projects here that, we're fighting, we're not really fighting, we're groveling for breadcrumbs and table scraps, in my view, for this funding. So what we have here, we've got counties that have got projects that require them to request more money than they have coming to them. We have others that are trying to stay within the 5-year, but they're trying to move some of that funding up sooner, and that funding is not going to be there. And then we have other counties who basically played by all the rules, but by doing so, they've basically written off very important projects because they just know that they're not going to get the money. And to me, you know what? Maybe it's just that I'm at a point in my career where maybe I just don't care that much anymore what people think. So I'm just going to say it. Commissioner Guilmetti has given me good advice over the years that I have to be careful as a commissioner to recognize the lines between advocacy and what we do as a commission. I'm probably going to push that a little bit today. I think that we as a transportation community have played by the rules and been too nice for too long, and this is what we're getting for it. So I think it's time to change that. And I think that it's high time for you to get together and take a look at what we're asking for here. Pick 1 or 2 projects in each county that are really valid projects, and let's put a coherent message together and find a way to speak before the transportation commissions on both houses and whoever's going to listen, and do it in a coordinated and logical and rational way. We have a story to tell, and we're not telling it. And I'm really, I just think this is about time we start figuring out how to tell it. Thank you.
Are there any more eloquent statements to be made? Any other public comment? I want to thank everyone who participated, and we get to do this again next Tuesday down in Los Angeles. So if you want a little more of this, come and join us in Los Angeles. Thank you very much for your attention and time.
Thank you,
Meeting adjourned.